the courts incentivize the players to actually care about it, which is one of the key things here. You can't just tell people it's important, so treat it like it's important. You have to make it important to people, and the best way to do that when you're talking about professional athletes is to throw some cash their way if they get it done. Well, the New York Knicks win the 2025 NBA Cup, and they've already answered the question whether or not they are going to they're going to hang a banner at Madison Square Garden for winning the NBA Cup. Here's the thing. The Knicks say no. You have to say no if you're at Madison Square Garden. If this is a Delta Center question where you don't have championship banners hanging in the rafters, you're hanging a rafter. You're not hanging a rafter. You're hanging a banner in the rafters. The Knicks are a victim of their own success in that your fan base, who is even though it is an accomplishment and it is something that every other team in the NBA wanted to do this year and wish they had done this year, your own fan base and the national media that attaches itself to your market size is going to look at you with the side eye and say, you're the New York Knicks and you're hanging an NBA Cup banner. Come on, man. You need to win the Larry O'Brien before you really start caring about the Stanley Cup. That'll justify a banner. But James pointed out before the show started that, hey, well, hold on a minute, because there's not a deep legacy of caring about the NBA Cup, but it is something now that the league has put all this weight behind, and it is more impressive than some of the things that you probably do hang banners for, like divisional championships. Division champ, conference champ, NBA champ. Traditionally, that's what people hang banners for. And the Knicks have said, no, we're not going to hang a banner for that. So, just thought it was interesting. 877-353-0700 at Real OC Sports. Do you hang a banner if you win the NBA Cup? Your level of history and success throughout that history, I think, helps determine the answer to this question. And for the New York Knicks, the bar is probably a little bit higher than for the New Orleans Pelicans in that regard.
See, I don't even think that, for me, that shouldn't even be part of it either.
Well, whether it should or not, it kind of is, because in New York, you are like,
yeah, but the Lakers hung a banner.
Everyone looks at what you and maybe you just follow what because the Lakers and the Celtics, whatever they do as longtime historically relevant franchises with championship pedigree, maybe you look at them and you say, all right, yeah, that's if they did it, we could do it.
So the Lakers hung a banner the first time. I think they got a lot of pressure from the league to do so, and they are the Lakers. They're way. I don't care what. I don't care about your 15 to 20 million people who say the Knicks are the greatest thing ever. You are far below the Lakers. But I'm arguing for, I don't think any arena should hang a banner for the NBA Cup. And maybe, I think just put the trophy in a cool place in your arena on display. It's something your fans can take pictures outside. Why? And I don't think division titles should have ever been hung. So, anyone that wants to come at me with well, NBA Cup's a lot bigger deal than division titles. So if you're hanging banners for that, then you should definitely hang it for the Cup. No, take the division title banners down. You just hang banners for NBA championships, and I think probably conference championships. Making it to the finals is a big enough deal to hang a banner. Especially, I think that one certainly depends on your team's championship history. The Jazz have hung banners for their 2 Western Conference championships. That's the highest they've ever gone. I think if they won the NBA Cup, you don't need a banner for that. Just display the trophy. That's what I think.
Well, the Delta Center they've hung banners for ridiculous things. Didn't they put a banner up for like most tickets sold to a Garth Brooks show or something at one point? Taylor Swift record attendance set.
I haven't seen that banner, but maybe
they put a banner up for some concert achievement at one point that we as a Utah public successfully ridiculed them into taking down.
Okay, there you go. That's why I haven't seen it, because I gotta
look up what it is. But it was some stupid thing. It was just like most sold out shows for Taylor Swift or whatever, and it was like, wait, what? No, guys, you don't commemorate that with a banner. You can't look Adrian Dantley in the face and say that belongs next to your jersey.
I believe Madison Square Garden has banners for certain concerts that they've had, but that's also the Garden's just a different thing with that, right?
Which here's the thing though, because the Garden is that, I mean, they've hung banners to commemorate like world title fights.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes sense because those are moments in history. I don't know why either. If you're Madison Square Garden, either you hang all the banners or you have the most meticulous selection process in what deserves a banner.
Yeah, heavyweight boxing championships, obviously the Knicks and Rangers championships. I don't know that everything needs to be commemorated in the same way that an NBA championship and I think conference championships and retired jerseys and things like that are commemorated. It's just like, especially the NBA Cup and division titles, like just make a display somewhere else in the arena. And concerts, and they've done that in the Delta Center. They don't have those banners anymore, as like you mentioned, but they have like the signed guitars that commemorate some of the concerts that have happened there. Like, just find a way to do that for some of these other titles that are important too. It doesn't have to. It just kind of cheapens. It feels like it cheapens the ultimate thing, which is the NBA championship, and I don't care what anyone who's trying to overly promote the NBA Cup wants to say. An NBA Cup title is still no one's goal compared to an NBA championship, and it never will be, and that's fine. So let's just celebrate it differently.
Which, to be fair, though, to be the devil's advocate here, that's also true, and I think this is kind of a point you're making. It's also true of division titles and of conference titles.
That's true. Conference titles are not the goal either, but it is still I think a much more difficult and more significant title than NBA Cup.
I remember when I was like 9 years old, 10 years old, my grandma's cousin, I think it was, we're at this huge family reunion, Dubuque, Iowa, all right? Lovely little town on the banks of the Mississippi River, right on the Illinois border, where my parents grew up. We're at Eagle Point Park, this beautiful overlook on the Mississippi River, and I am just now at this point in my life, I have like planted my flag as a young person that football is my thing. I love football. I'm going to be a good football player. Football is my thing at this point, right? We go to this family reunion, and I think it was my grandma's cousin. My dad's going to text me if I get this wrong. He comes up to me, and he's this broad-shouldered guy. At this point, he's in, I guess if I'm that age, he's in his 60s. And he's wearing a ring, a Minnesota Vikings ring. And I was like, what the? He's like, you know what that is? And, of course, I'm 9 or 10 years old. I don't know that the Vikings haven't won a Super Bowl. I don't know. So I'm like, well, this is the cousin that I heard about that was in the NFL a long time ago. I'm like, is that a Super Bowl ring? He's like, no. This is a championship. This is a conference championship ring. And I remember being that age, even that age, being like, wait a second, I thought only the Super Bowl winners got rings. And like, imagine you're the dude, right? You're my whatever that is, great uncle, and you walk up to some snot-nosed little chubby punk from Utah, and you're just like, check that out. I played for some really good Minnesota Vikings teams, played in NFL championship games, and I'm just like, wait, you didn't win it? That's weird. I didn't know you had a ring for that. So I don't know where the line of demarcation really should be on what you should decorate, commemorate with jewelry, with banners, etc.
Yeah, I think here's what I think with what individual teams want to do want to give or do for the players and coaches on the teams for conference championships. Now you got the NBA Cup and the NBA. I think you want to make a ring for those guys to commemorate what is still a really good achievement, even though it's not the ultimate goal. Fine, but I stopped short of saying, okay, let's have a ring night at the arena in front of our fans. Like, how about, like, if you want to make something cool to say, hey, we want to recognize this achievement that you did, even if it's lesser than the Super Bowl title, than the NBA championship, than the World Series, it's still really awesome. Here's a cool ring, whatever, for you to keep. Like, fine, do that at the practice facility. Take some pictures, send out a press release, whatever. But what they will do, if that ends up being a thing, is from now on, is they'll make that a ring night, just like they do for the NBA championship. And it's like, no, like, stop trying to make this like the NBA championship. It's not.
All right. Okay, I'm glad we got this out of the way, because, by the way,
congrats to the Knicks.
Here's what I want to know.
Porter and Spencer are probably really excited.
I want to know if you, as a college football, right? We got the playoffs, an expanded college football playoff in its second year. We got the playoffs rolling this weekend. If you make it to this playoff, is that banner worthy? Arizona State won the conference championship last year. Absolutely banner worthy.
Yeah, if you make it by winning your conference, sure.
Okay, so if you're Miami this year, are you hanging a banner for the 2025 football season where you did not win your conference championship? Everyone in America agrees that you were the best team in the ACC. Do you hang a banner for making it this far?
Maybe you do like one of those banners that you see at your high school gym or your favorite college's gym, even NBA, some pro leagues, they have like a banner that lists the years that you made the NCAA tournament if you're basketball.
Yeah, I like that.
Like, you don't have one that says 2025 college football playoff participant. It's like the 8th seed in the team that wins the play-in tournament in the NBA now. Do you do any kind of special commemoration for that? No.
See, that's the problem I have with the expanded playoff.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in football, we've always just been like conference championships, and then when it was sort of a poll decided champion, you would commemorate those things. You would then get in the BCS era. You could be a BCS champion of some kind. You could be important in the BCS Bowl Busters. Like, all right. Now that you've got a bunch of these at-large bids, if you are Oregon, are you hanging a banner for the 2025 season? You're a top 5 team. You're in the college football playoff. I think Phil Knight is going, hell no, dude. I'm not hanging a banner unless we get a national champion.
Right. I think conference championships, and like, this is something I learned, it was a thing in college football when the Utes won the Pac-12. Utah, the football team visited Utah's Capitol Hill and met and had a photo op and whatever meeting with Governor Cox. those 2 years. I believe it was Governor. I believe Spencer Cox was the governor at that time. It was not Herbert. Anyway, they had their just like a smaller version of the pro leagues going to the White House or the national champions going to the White House. Here, you win the Pac-12, you get to go to Utah's Capitol Hill and meet with the governor. That like if we're doing that sort of thing because we made the playoff, we didn't win a conference championship, because you win the NBA Cup, because you made it to the finals but you lost, like that's a little too much of a recognition for not getting the ultimate goal, right? But one of the big goals is winning your conference in college football. You should make a really big deal about that. Obviously, winning the national championship, you're gonna go to the White House for that. So that's obviously gonna be a big deal. Making the playoff, like if you want to do the way that a lot of schools do with the men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments and various tournaments across the other sports, and you want to make a pennant that lists the years that you made your tournament, I think, okay, fine. Beyond that, you're kind of over celebrating something that you lost early on in.
Well, I mean,
right?
It's why the NCAA basketball tournament gets really interesting, because it's like Sweet 16, Elite 8. If you're a Final Four team, we talk about Final Four teams almost the same way we talk about the national champion, which is weird to me. And then you had that with college football. You had a 4-team playoff. Well, I mean, I don't know. We'd have to call the stadium administrators at each of those schools. Did you put up a banner for making it to the playoff? And if you did at Ohio State, that would surprise me. If you did it at like Cincinnati and TCU, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, when I was working in Oakland, living in San Francisco, the Oakland A's, that's an organization with some illustrious history. Now, not recent history, but the Oakland A's had a banner for that crazy win streak they went on during the Moneyball season. They had a banner for that. A small one, an unassuming one, but it's kind of weird. Like, okay, you had a 20-game streak during a regular season? Did you win the World Series that year? I don't know. Deciding where you can celebrate and where you can't is one of the interesting things about sports like college sports, where there are so many teams all competing for the same thing. In the NFL, you've got 32 teams. In the NBA, in Major League Baseball, in the NHL, we're talking about 36 teams, not even, competing for the same championship. In college sports, you've got 100 and whatever the number is, 132 FBS teams now. College basketball, because of the way March Madness works, you double that number. So we can expand our horizons on what is a noteworthy season, I guess. But the New York Knicks have said the NBA Cup, thank you for the bonus money. Thank you for the in-season motivation. We are not going to hang a banner for this. And I think it is the right decision. I think now when you're in a college football playoff that has automatic bids, you should only hang a banner if you are one of those automatic bids, if you are a champion. If you're Oregon, if you're Ole Miss, if you're Alabama, Miami this year, you should not hang any kind of banner. And I think that's probably how most schools are going to handle it.
It's a new thing, though, right? So it's something that schools are going to have to be figuring out. How do you commemorate making the playoff? And if you lose in the first round, is that still something worth commemorating, right? And I would think, yeah, in a small way, because college sports is different than pros. Like I made a bad comparison to say, hey, you're the 7 or 8 seed in the NBA. Do you commemorate making the playoffs? No, but in college sports, making the NCAA tournament and now making an expanded playoff is like collegiate sports like to commemorate those sort of things.
Sure.
So why not? Like, and this is also not a great comparison either because of where Utah was at the time, being in a mid-major non-BCS group of 5 conference. But like you think about the way that in the practice facility the Fiesta Bowl win is celebrated, the Sugar Bowl win is celebrated. Even like you might say, well, is that like a pro team commemorating making the playoffs, but winning one round and losing? But it's a different thing.
In those cases, right? I mean, any team that completes an undefeated season, should build a damn statue for that, because the system that those teams were competing in, there was nothing else that they could achieve.
They were trying to shut you out.
There was nothing else that could have been done by those teams because there was not a playoff. Now, you put the Sugar Bowl team or the Fiesta Bowl team into this current system, they're playoff teams, undoubtedly, right? They
especially because they're undefeated, like you say.
The way that we're looking at it now, they are. I mean, last year they would have been the equivalent of Boise State, a better version of that, because Boise State was not undefeated last year. They lost to Oregon, right? So they would have been playoff teams. They would have been first-round bye type teams last year.
Fiesta Bowl last year team.
And then are we talking about a Mountain West Conference team, or are we talking about Utah being in the Big 12? Well, they would beat Texas Tech this year, right? Yeah. Those are special seasons that, like Texas Tech, if they don't win the national championship, they get their ring and their banner for being undefeated in the regular season. Excuse me, they weren't. But for winning the Big 12 championship, absolutely they get that. Beyond that, I don't know if you annotate. Also, we had a bye in the playoff. I don't know. 1624 with an interesting text says, hey, if you would commemorate it for your basketball team, you probably do the same thing. In that case, hang a banner for Utah's season this year. They're a Sweet 16 team. They're a top 15 team. I mean, you have to move the goalposts for football and basketball because they are run differently.
Smaller field, run differently. I wonder if you should. I mean, they're not calling it a Final Four, the semifinals of the college football playoff, but I wonder if getting to the semifinals and getting to the college football Final Four should be as celebrated as and especially commemorated as a basketball Final Four. One reason why it probably shouldn't is that the field's so much smaller, so making the Final Four, you had to win 4 games to get there, and that's difficult to do in a single elimination, right? In college football, you have to win at most 2, which it's a lot easier to get there because it's a smaller field, but it's still, I mean, you're still Final Four of college football. You're still 2 wins away from a championship. Like, that seems like a big deal still. I don't know.
It does, but it's also you're 2 wins away from a championship. Yeah, you didn't win a championship, which, again, like in basketball, I don't know why it became this way in basketball. I guess because of the crucible of the tournament and the fact that you are in elimination game after elimination game after elimination game. If it were a 64-team football playoff, then you would have already made it through whatever that is, 4 rounds before you get to the Final Four. So yeah, like now we're going to give that a different level of respect. I don't know. I didn't even plan on this being the start of the show, but here we are, 26 minutes in.
The NBA Cup matters this much.
The NBA
Cup
took
over our first
It just
segment.
means more. All right. We've got a fun show lined up for you today. Maurice Jones-Drew is going to join us next. Trevor Riley's going to be here in studio. Adrian Denny between the pipes. We're going to have some fun. Andy Larson also. That's at 1:30. Maurice Jones-Drew, LA Rams color analyst, joins us next. Are the Rams the Super Bowl favorite to this point in the season? It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Our next guest is an absolute legend. If you've been following the game of football from, I don't know, any time late 90s to today, this man has been part of that landscape in several different roles. Maurice Jones-Drew, LA Rams color analyst, incredibly successful at the high school level, the college level, the pro level, and now in the broadcasting world. We're lucky enough to get him here on the Sean O'Connell Show. MJD, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Appreciate you giving us some time today. I promise we're going to get to the Rams and some of this NFL stuff, but we're talking this week about the All-America teams in college football, and Spencer Fano, who won the Outland Trophy for the Utes this year, has a shot to be a unanimous All-American, which is, of course, an incredible honor and a rare thing in football, and he would be the fifth Ute ever to be a unanimous All-American. You were a unanimous All-American in 2005, is that right?
Yeah, I was.
Was that ever a part of the goal for you? I mean, when you're creating your vision board, there was, you want to be an all-conference player, you want to have probably a certain number of touchdowns, et cetera. Was unanimous All-American something that you even considered possible for yourself at UCLA?
No, it's so funny. I think kids today have much more knowledge and access to resources than we had. And so to be honest, I went into my last year at UCLA not knowing it was going to be my last year. I was a true junior, so I just wanted to change everything that we had done. We won 6-7 my first year, had 6 straight losses. Then we went 7-6 my next year. And so that last year, I just wanted to do everything I could to make sure that, I helped my team be the best. And some of that was touchdowns. Some of that was, blocking or whatever it may be. But I became an All-American because of my all-purpose yards, right? So I want to say the running back from Nebraska got the award that I got, which was the kind of the all-purpose back award for returns and kickoff returns, punt returns, and catching and receiving. But, no, you never go into it thinking about it. At least I didn't. I went in just trying to be the best version of myself to help our team win. And we end up being, I want to say we got as high as maybe 6th in the country at UCLA, which is awesome. And we end up finishing, I think, at 8th. And so that's kind of where, we were. But, I think it's awesome for, offensive linemen to get those type of unanimous awards or those awards, because no one really, if your name is being called as an offensive lineman, that's a terrible thing. If that makes sense. So, it's you being unknown is the best thing for you as an O-lineman. And so they have a tough job. And obviously watching some of Utah, I have a good friend of mine, Robert Johnson, who's a Ute, that we're in a group chat, and he always brings up Utah. But watching some of the games, man, your offensive line in general did an awesome job. And so I know it's probably well worth it for sure.
Was it strange for you when you went to UCLA and you actually lost the football game? Because you were part of those legendary De La Salle teams. You did not lose a high school football game, which is ridiculous, because some of us were on the opposite end of that spectrum in high school. Was it weird for you when you went to college and you lost your first game?
It was very weird. I think when at De La Salle, it was a group of guys that bought in, and we kind of played hard, and you didn't really know the future of those guys. But on those teams, there were 7 guys that went to the NFL, right? So you don't have any idea at that point. But we had a ton of talent. And so getting to college, there was a lot of talent there. But I remember our first game was at Colorado, and I had originally was going to commit to Colorado too, so it was an important game for me to go out and play well. And I didn't play, so I think I had a fumble, 1 carry, 1 fumble, and a botched kickoff return. And then we lose, and I didn't even know how to act. I was I don't even know what to do, right? You ever seen Talladega Nights? He's I don't know what to do with my hands. That's what I felt like. I felt in limbo for weeks. And so it was a great job by Eric Bieniemy and some of the other coaches, to kind of come in and be listen, man, these things are going to happen. But I was no, they're not. They're not supposed to happen. We're never supposed to lose. You know what I mean? You win everything. And it was a shock for sure. I tell you what, that flight home might have felt like it was 15 hours. It was only a 2-hour flight to LA, but it felt like it was a forever flight. And that bus ride from Colorado, I still remember it. riding back from Boulder to the airport, it felt like that took 15 hours, and then getting on a flight was the same way. Like it took so long to get back to my dorm room. It was insane, but it definitely built some character, to say the least.
Maurice Jones-Drew is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll now shift our focus to what we really brought you on here to talk about. You are with your LA Rams are. I mean, look, talking to a lot of people around the NFL, in the NFL, this right now feels like maybe the team to beat, perhaps the Super Bowl favorite. My question for you is, with Matthew Stafford coming into the year talking about epidurals in the spine, and is he even going to be able to play? If we take it all the way back to early August, is this something you thought was possible for this Rams roster?
I thought when the Rams made some, after the draft, you kind of look at the roster, you see what they did in free agency. You're like, oh, okay, like the Rams have the ability to really be a force in the NFL, right? Like they added Poona Ford, they added Devontae Adams, you added Nate Landman, guys that, I remember when they added Nate Landman, I was like, he's from my area actually. He went to the high school, the city I live in. He went to that local high school there. And when you watch his tape, he was always around the football. And I remember in one of our podcasts, I was like, this is like an underrated signing, because when you watch his tape, if there's an interception or if there's a fumble or whatever it is, either he's recovering it, he forced it, or he tipped the ball, or he's picking it off. And it was like, he's a turnover machine, and you got him for a cheap price. Like, that's what you're looking for. Poona Ford had always been a thorn in the Rams' side when he was in Seattle, and even when he went to the Chargers, I think the Rams, they scrimmaged him, and he had kind of dominated the line of scrimmage. So obviously really solidifying that defensive line was super important. And then Devontae Adams, the Rams needed to fix their red zone offense. And so they had struggled so much the last couple of years in the red zone, selling for field goals and not necessarily scoring touchdowns. And so they had identified some areas they needed to improve in their free agency, and they improved in those. And so everything was going well. It was looking awesome in OTAs, and then Stafford gets hurt, right? He hurts his back. And so now it's like, I have no idea. And that seems like years ago that this happened. But it's like, you have no idea now, because now it's Jimmy Garoppolo and, Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford are getting those reps. But they always had the talent to be where they are now, and it was always about the execution. And if you look at every game that they've played in, I don't know if every team can say that, they've either been winning in every game that they played in, or had a chance to win in every game that they played in the fourth quarter, which is insane stat, right? And so that, to me, just tells you, like, this team is super talented. Sean McVay's done an awesome job of getting everybody involved and keeping everyone involved. And, again, they got a tough test this week against the Seattle Seahawks team that came to SoFi, played lights out on defense against the Rams. Obviously, Sam Darnold had the 4 turnovers, but they still won by, I want to say, 2 or 3. So this is going to be this is a big matchup. This is like one of the last Thursday night games, and it has a lot on the line for it, for sure.
Let's talk Puka. Here in Utah, obviously, this guy, we watched him play in high school. He went to Washington. He comes back and plays at BYU. And then, I think people here that had been watching him were a little bit surprised that his entry into the NFL, that, maybe he should have been drafted higher or something. And then, of course, after being a 5th-round pick, he just takes off and ends up being one of the best wide receivers in the league. You've been around the league a lot longer than any of us have. You've played with great guys. You played against great guys. What is Puka Nacua's ceiling when you watch him as someone who had your time in the NFL?
Oh, I think he's still growing. He still has a lot of room to grow. Puka Nacua has done a great job of really retaining a lot of information from all type of guys. Cooper Kupp at first, right? And what he did from Cooper Kupp, I thought what he learned from Cooper Kupp was making those tough contested catches, but also being a willing blocker in the run game, right? Being selfless. Going in and digging out safeties, blocking linebackers, whatever it may be, sacrificing his body for the greater good of the team. I feel like the second thing is when Devontae came in here, he's been in Devontae's hip pocket, right? And Devontae is about releases and different deals, and he's going to get downfield and making every route look like he's going to a post or a corner. He does a great job of doing that, and you're seeing that in Puka Nacua as well. And so I think he still has a lot of room to grow. He's still gathering information from everyone around the league. But I tell you what he does best, and people don't understand this. He is the toughest guy to tackle. his run after catch is amazing. When he gets the ball in his hands, it's like he can take a 2-yard route and go 30, 40, 50 with it. And what the Rams do is they try to get him the ball in space and let him run on corners. And a lot of these corners don't want to tackle a guy that's 215, 220 pounds with that type of speed and size. And so he does an awesome job. And I really believe the confidence from that rookie year of setting all those records, and a credit to, again, Sean McVay and everyone of making sure that he got those records, because that's what separates the talent in the NFL is the confidence you have in yourself and in what you're doing. And so he set all those records. He did all those things. The next year he comes back, does it again, right? And then this year he's just been a consistent, dominant force for the Rams in both the running game and the passing game. And so I think that early on, and this is just me watching him, I think the reason he fell to the 5th round is he struggled getting in and out of his breaks. Well, the Rams, when he got here, they didn't ask him to do a lot of curls or comebacks and things like that. They kept him on the move. And then over the last couple of years, as they started to develop his feet and develop his ability to get in and out of breaks, you're starting to see him do some of those things, and he's getting more and more open. He's becoming more of a complete receiver. And so, to me, I think the sky's the limit with him. I think that he is the Energizer Bunny for this team. And when he gets going and when he gets first down and he makes tough catches, like this whole team stands up and yells. And I mean, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, Matthew Stafford has thrown some passes that you're kind of like, I don't know if you should, but Puka Nacua has come down with them. And that to me is just, you're seeing the evolution of a receiver that really, works his butt off to make sure that he's at the best of his abilities when the team needs him.
I imagine you watch running backs even more closely than you watch any other position on the field. So for Kyren Williams and company, Blake Corum behind him has been awesome as well. Is this a rushing attack that can support a true Super Bowl run?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And before I answer that question, I'll tell you, I'm a guy that loves big men that love to block. So I watch O-line play more than anything because you're only as good as the 5 guys in front of you that are working. And it kind of sways into why this team is who they are. Kyren, they really made a change. They went from kind of an outside zone, stretch early in Sean McVay's career to more of a downhill duo, and that's because that fits what Kyren does best. Kyren is a guy that can manipulate linebackers, and he knows how to get the tough yards. And these big O-linemen are getting up on guys, and they're finding ways to get hats on hats, and Kyren's able to kind of pick his way through. What's changed this year is Blake Corum's burst, right? You can run the same plays. It's not Kyren getting the ball, over the last couple of years. I think he'll touch it 280, 300 times, and he'll really start running in late November and December. But this year, Blake Corum has kind of come in, and it's allowed Kyren to stay fresh. It's allowed Kyren to continue to be an explosive guy that he's always been. And now when Blake comes in, they'll run outside zone. They'll run inside zone. They'll run duo, which is just straight downhill dive type plays. And getting this guy the ball, he has a different gear. And so now all of a sudden you have to worry about a guy that can manipulate you and do all this in the running game. And then they bring this other kid in, and he's bouncing every run, right? Like every inside run, he's bouncing and going 60. He's outrunning guys to the corner. He's just showing a different type of deal. And this is what the Rams had always wanted. They wanted this 2-back system. And so I believe this 2-headed monster will carry the Rams. And it's going to start Thursday night as they go on this championship run. Before you can win a Super Bowl, you got to win your division or at least be in contention for that. And that's what this game comes down to tomorrow night.
Appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. Been a big fan for a long time, and you continue to have great calls. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That is Maurice Jones-Drew. MJD is a football legend at every single level. LA Rams color analyst now. That's what he's doing these days. We will have Rams Seahawks tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Tied for the lead in the NFC West. The Westwood One broadcast is right here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. MJD and the Rams home broadcast with our guy JB Long. That's going to be on 103.9, 98.3 ESPN The Fan. Big thanks to MJD for joining us. By the way, Puka Nacua, he is the leading receiver for the Rams. He is also the 3rd leading rusher for the Rams. It goes 2 running backs, Kyren Williams, Blake Corum, and then the 3rd leading rusher for the Rams right now, instead of it being a quarterback, which on most NFL teams, that's probably what it is because of the scrambles and stuff. Puka Nacua in the Sean McVay system, they'll have him touched the ball a few times in that regard as well. He is the third leading rusher for that Rams team also. And he's still on the rookie contract. What's going to happen when this guy comes up to get paid? Wow. Hot Lunch is coming next, brought to you by our friends over at Big Willie's. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. ESPN 792 FM and the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers invite you to help those at the road home this holiday season with blankets, coats, shoes, hats, gloves. Drop off donations at any Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer. You can find a list of participating dealers at ESPN700sports.com. Spread the warmth, help others find their way home. We're actually going to be broadcasting tomorrow and Friday from the Road Home Radiothon down at the Crosby Family Center in Midvale. It is a massive fundraising event that happens every year. It is one of the great kind of moments in the sports radio calendar in Utah. In the radio calendar in Utah, you get all the stations out there, everyone pulling on the same rope, even the competition, right? We'll be sitting there, and the boys across the street will be sitting across the hall, and I'll be talking trash, and they'll be trying to ignore me. It's fun. It's great. And it's a great time for you to donate at Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers or straight up at the road home. Cash, goods, and at the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers, the coats, the hats, the gloves, and anything that can help out in the cold weather for these families in need.
Yeah, tomorrow's the day that you get the cool where the Chevy dealers, Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers from all over the valley and beyond, drive the trucks in with all the goods you've donated. So that's always a cool thing. So that's going on tomorrow at the Radiothon.
It's the convoy
that
they do. All right, I know that we usually save grievances for Fridays, and this is not going to be an official grievance, but it is something I wanted to point out in the hot lunch, which is brought to you today by Big Willie's. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see fries, fry sauce, and an Italian sandwich. It's a sausage and pepper sandwich on a French bread bun with pesto sauce, mozzarella cheese, and perfectly grilled peppers. The sausage is delightful, just the right amount of heat to it. And I don't mean temperature. I mean just a teeny little bite to the spice, giving you that flavor you're looking for. It's $13 for the sandwich and the side. And, of course, tell them that OC sent you in the hot lunch at Big Willie's, 1717 South Main. You guys know that I'm a big fan of lists. You know that I'm a big fan of people getting their flowers, especially after great seasons. ESPN put out a list that the first time I read through it, I was like, that can't be right. That doesn't make any sense. This must be talking about guys who are going to be in college football next year. The top 50 players of the 2025-2026, I thought it said season. It's the 2025-2026 playoff. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I'm going through this list, and I'm like, the top 50 players of the season, and there was no Spencer Fano. I was like, how can there's 12? I counted, James. I counted. There's 12 other guys that play down line. They play offensive or defensive line, hand in the dirt type players. And there was no Spencer Fano. I was like, how is this happening? Because Spencer, of course, is the Outland Trophy winner. He has been given the award for you're the best lineman on either side of the ball this year.
Got to be on the list, right?
Got to be on this top 50 players list. No, it's the playoff guys. So I got a little up in arms because it took me too long. So the list was being made based on who's in the playoff, and the headline, I lost focus of that. So if there's a grievance, I guess it's with myself. But it really threw me for a loop this morning. I was like, what? I'm writing it down in the notes. I was like, oh, how could these guys have it so backwards?
Fernando Mendoza, no doubt, number one Heisman winner, right?
Yes. It's number 50 is Shadre Hurst from Tulane. Number 1 is your Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza.
And numbers 49 through 37 are also Tulane and James Madison. No,
and then everyone else is just the Ohio State roster. No, it's Fernando Mendoza 1, Jeremiah Smith 2, Jacob Rodriguez 3, David Bailey 4, Julian Sayin 5. So
Jeremiah Love, where's Jeremiah Love fall? Notre Dame running. Oh, he's not in the playoff.
He's not in the playoff.
Never
Did you
mind.
do that on purpose?
No,
Were you trying to rub that in? See?
I did what you did. I was like, hold on. They're missing one of the best players in college football. And I went, oh, wait, Notre Dame didn't make the playoff.
Yeah. So pretty cool little shout out, though, for Jacob Rodriguez and David Bailey, 3 and 4 as the top players that are on this list. Another list that is growing right now that is unrelated here, but not completely unrelated here, is the list of high-profile quarterbacks who have already put their names out there for the upcoming transfer portal. January 2nd through the 16th is going to be the free-for-all, the free agency, the craziness in the transfer portal, right? And you've already got some big-name guys whose names are out there. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because we're talking about playoff teams here and the best players on playoff teams. Conspicuously absent for Texas Tech is really anyone on their offense. It's all defensive players.
Now, and Cameron Dickey, the running back, has been really good. He might be the only guy on their offense, unless there's like an offensive lineman that I'm missing out that also was awesome for them. That's probably worthy of being one of these players. But you're right, the Texas Tech's offense just not anything to write home about.
So if you remember, going into the Utah versus Cincinnati game, that was at the time a ranked Cincinnati team, and we told you that the entire matchup came down to Brendan Sorsby, the Cincinnati quarterback, right? He is now in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
He's awaiting a draft grade also, so we'll see what the NFL says about him. But for now, he's keeping his options open. He's either going to be somewhere beside Cincinnati next year, or he's going to be in the NFL. And it's more likely that he'll get a favorable NFL grade, and he'll probably go as like a top 2-round quarterback. Who knows? But all the things outside of his NFL future point to him being a Texas Tech quarterback next year. You're getting ready. You're Baron Morton, okay?
How much eligibility does he have? I can look it up. But.
You're getting ready to look at, a playoff run where you are potentially competing not just for, an appearance here. You've already checked that box. You're trying to make a case that your team ends up in the national championship game. Now, Baron Morton is looking at that and watching. He's a senior, so he doesn't have to come back. But you're looking at it and you're going, wow, I'm not even done playing yet, and they're already planning for what's next. They're already bringing in some guy before my seat is even cold here. I know that it's the nature of college football, but most of the time when these succession plans happen, it's the guy in the room behind you. It's the guy that was backing you up all year, or it's the guy that, is a freshman that got signed in December, or you think, if you go back far enough, you think they're going to sign in February, and you're just like, okay, that's who will be next year. It's such a wild thing now that Baron Morton is answering questions from his family, his friends, his teammates about, hey, what do you think of this guy who's going to be the next dude at Texas Tech? I got to get ready for a game here. Strange deal. And by the way, I said it during the BYU Texas Tech Conference Championship game. Imagine what this team could be if they had a great quarterback. Brendan Sorsby, if he ends up at Texas Tech, problematic for everybody.
Yep, that's a nightmare. Morton, by the way, is a senior.
Yeah.
So presumably no more eligibility, but we have 7-year seniors now in college football.
He could
so
sue
who knows?
for more eligibility.
So who knows?
Also, guess where Sorsby started his college football career?
I actually don't know.
Indiana.
Okay.
We've seen bounce back players. Utah's got a couple.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
You think about the last 8 to 10 Heisman winners. I think if the last 10 Heisman winners we say, I think at least 7 of them transferred, including Fernando Mendoza.
All the recent ones.
Yeah. Burrow was a transfer.
Travis Hunter was a transfer. They've all been transferred.
Yeah. Even Baker Mayfield was a transfer going back that far.
Before it was like a normal thing.
Yeah. before the official transfer portal.
My question
Speaking of Texas Tech, he started out as a Red Raider, right?
You think Fernando Mendoza's going pro this year? After winning the Heisman?
He's getting the talk that he's the no doubt number 1 overall pick. So I think absolutely.
So now Kurt Cignetti is going like, all right, who's my next quarterback going to be? Hey, look at this cat who used to be here
before Cignetti.
He was
guessing?
22.
Yeah, that was before Cignetti. So there's no burnt bridge there with the head coach. Maybe there's one with the school, but there's not one with the head coach. Yeah, that's interesting.
Right now, just a sampling of the names that are quarterbacks in the transfer portal. And again, it's going to be an insane. This is just the guys who've announced so far: Brendan Sorsby, DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, Sam Levitt. If you were making a list of the 2026 top returning quarterbacks in college football, it's the same exact list.
It's true. Lagway did not have a great year at Florida, but he was one of the top prospects coming out of high school, and he went 6-1 Last year, before the season before this, at the end down the stretch at Florida. So he came in with a ton of expectations, and as we mentioned, I think gone are the days of, hey, this guy's damaged goods if he's transferred to a place. It's like, no, guys and coaches at other schools are using these as opportunities to develop these guys further and make them better players. We're seeing it every year now. So you cannot just rule out DJ Lagway as damaged goods here. He could end wherever he ends up. He could end up being one of the top quarterbacks in the nation like he was supposed to be coming out of high school still.
I saw a screenshot yesterday. Someone pulled up the recruiting rankings from a couple years ago at the quarterback position, and it was Dylan Raiola 1, DJ Lagway 2, Sam Levitt 3 in that recruiting class at quarterback.
Yeah.
And now all of them are free agents again.
They're free agents.
Now all of them are being recruited again, and potentially not in that exact same order, but certainly near that same order.
Yeah. And Levitt's, you could argue, Raiola had a pretty good run at Nebraska, particularly this year, better than the year before. But you could argue that Levitt has had the best career out of all three of them. Although, like I said, Raiola's been pretty good too. So that's just it's wild. It's definitely an indication of where we are in college football.
These are the players who have announced before the transfer portal is even open.
Yeah. I mean, how many players on playoff rosters are gonna announce too? That's the other thing, because January 2nd is before the semifinal games,
and they're, if you are active and in the playoff, your window extends, I believe, till the 25th of January instead of the 16th of January.
Yeah, right. They give you another. They give 10 you days. Right?
They give you an extra 10 days or something, but still, it's an insane time, and Utah is smack dab in the middle of it. BYU is smack dab in the middle of it, and now you've got all these other questions around succession plan. Morgan Scalley, how many people want to stay to play for Morgan? How many people would rather be playing for Morgan than for Kyle Whittingham? How many guys maybe left the program in the past or thought about leaving if they thought it was going to stay Coach Witt, and now it's Morgan, so they're like, no, I want to be here. I mean, all of these little wrinkles, and then you add a big old fat dollar sign on top of all of it, which will determine everything.
Hey, you know who's going to have, speaking of dollar sign, you know who no doubt is going to be talking about that in a few minutes with
Trevor
you?
Riley is joining us here in studio, and he's always got thoughts on the financial situation. And look, it's been a weird couple of weeks at the University of Utah regarding the athletic department and the football program. There's conversations that are being had on air. There's things that are being reported. And then there's the other stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And sometimes they match up. A lot of the times they match up. And other stuff just doesn't. And you got to sort through it, even if you feel like you're well informed. But here's what you know right now, Utah football fans. Kyle Whittingham is going to coach one more game for you. That's his plan, at least, in the Vegas Bowl. After that, it's Morgan Scalley's show. And Morgan Scalley is going to take over, and then 2 days later, the transfer portal is going to open, and that's when we find out exactly where Utah stands on the financial front and on the competitive football front. Lots to get to with Trevor Riley, who joins us next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, hour number 2, begins with our good friend right here in our Broadway studios. So if you're watching on the YouTube, you'll see the stylish and handsome Trevor Riley sitting across from me. Hey.
How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, the jacket, okay, a little dirty, but it's my wallet. I've been losing stuff so much. I've had to get my license from Florida at least 3 times so I can zip down. I shove all my stuff in there, see?
All right.
Keys and everything.
Got the zipper pocket on the sleeve, bomber-style jacket. I like it.
Yeah,
a little
man.
shearling, they call that.
Okay.
With the, looks like wool. Probably maybe synthetic wool, but still.
Abercrombie Fitch from Ross on the clearance section, all right?
Love it.
David O. McKay style, dude.
I love it. All right. Well, a lot has happened with Utah athletics, Utah football in particular in the last week. And, I mean, the announcement that came out Friday afternoon, right after the show went final, is as significant as we've had announcement be in the last 21 years because the succession plan is in place and is now being executed. Kyle Whittingham has announced that he's stepping down as the head coach at the University of Utah. You played for the man. You had a lot of success playing for the man. You know him on a level that a lot of people don't. What were your thoughts?
A little bit shocked, okay? But then, knowing some of the things I know that they didn't fund the roster. Meaning we as a collective group, the alumni, the bigwigs, the school, whatever it may be, right? $16 million is what they had when he resigned. Okay, $16 million is what he had when he started this negotiation, basically, because it is a negotiation. Who's going to coach next year, Kyle? You have till this date. Well, what's our NIL look like is what I'm assuming the question was. And then the answer was not good because everyone kind of got distracted by this private equity deal, which is a good deal considering the debt we ran. Again, debt, not a big deal. Okay, we're still going to play the games on Saturday. It just means that you have to move some things around, okay? But at the same time, that also shed some light on the fact that that private equity deal is not going to be funding the roster this year. So that money is strictly for the university to use at their discretion. And as we all know, the rules now, they're capped at how much they can give players. It's about $20 million based on the TV revenue share money, 21.5 or something.
Well, it was 20.5 this year, and it's going up to 22 million next year, I think, is what the announcement was.
We're probably between 16 and 18, okay? And so if that is, we watched what happened.
Well, sorry, that 20.5 or the 22 million is to the entire athletic department?
Yes.
That's all athletic. That's all student athletes, and of course, football gets the bulk of that. But you do have to crack off some for men's basketball, women's basketball, gymnastics, etc.
And to Sean, you nailed it exactly right. So the little bit of confusion, it was like a perfect storm of confusion. Holy crap, Coach Witz is retiring, and oh my gosh, they're going to pay him $10 million not to coach, or whatever the number is, and then they're not going to fund the roster.
Well, hold on. We got to zoom out a little bit here. Sure. First of all, you believe Kyle Whittingham decided part of this decision was because he didn't feel like he was going to be able to compete financially?
Yes,
moving forward?
Wholeheartedly, I believe that because I can only think about myself, right? He trained me. I have instincts. I'm not saying exactly what I think is what he thinks, but if you just do a little logic chain there, you don't want to be tied for last in third-party spending going into next season. That's where we're at. We have zero NIL right now allocated for third-party spending. That means you can't negotiate deals, man.
I can't believe we have $0. I mean, zero.
I think it's close to zero.
Aside from revenue sharing.
That's it.
Which is money directly from the school and the athletic department. You're telling me that there are no boosters that are saying, yeah, I want Devin Dampier to be my starting quarterback, or I want Bert Ficklin to be my starting quarterback, or I want us to have another Spencer Fano. Zero.
Yes. Well, again, there's a little bit of confusion here. The rules change every day. Okay, so I'm not. It's not It's not like we're stupid. It's just the system is such where you got to stay on top of this stuff and follow the zeros, right? The school has a cap of money. They can't spend more than whatever the numbers you said. So when you just talk about what's our operating budget for next year's salary, how can we negotiate to retain the team and sign? We got to replace 5 offensive linemen, a tight end, now maybe 2 defensive ends, and a stud backer. That's just your front. Not to mention we got 2 receivers, so we have to bring guys that's going to cost some money. What I do know is that we don't have what we need. I know what BYU and Texas Tech have, and those are our 2 dogs, right? Those are the guys that beat us. In any team, right, you always just pick them out, and you find ways to beat those 2.
Yeah.
Everybody built teams to beat Kansas City, right? Now we're seeing what happened. So we got to build that team, and we're at 16 to 17, 18 million. BYU's over 30, and Tech they're saying is close to 45, 50 possibly. That's not sustainable for us. We have to.
Which is why the private equity was supposed to be a solution, whether it's short term or long term. I was told the same thing, that the budget for next year's roster has nothing to do with this private equity deal. That the number you'll see in the headlines is $500 million. I've been told behind the scenes that it's actually more like $150 million. But we'll let all that come out in the wash. I don't want this to be only a discussion about the dollars.
Yeah.
Because Kyle Whittingham is done.
Yeah, and I sorry I took
That's
it left
21 years of Utah football history that I refuse to believe boils down to, well, I don't have enough money to keep doing this, because he did it for 18 years without money being in part of the equation at all.
You're so right about that, and this sounds a little bit tragic, but we kind of got left holding the bag, meaning we figured out the system. We went from Mountain West to BCS Buster to Pac-12 to winning the Pac-12, right? Or getting in the Pac-12 to winning to then getting to a Rose Bowl. We're right there, dude. We were right there, and then they changed the rules. Okay, we exhausted all of our energy. Sean, you were part of it. We talked about machine learning. You were one of the original Utes that really brought this thing forward on those teams in the early 2000s, late 90s.
It was mostly me that made that happen. So you're welcome, Utah fans.
Thank you, OC.
Yeah.
But really, the whole thing is that we really put our whole effort into that. Okay, as a whole fan-based institution, we earned what we got, and then the rules changed, and now you're seeing 500 ball clubs perennially. What's the word?
Perennially, yeah.
Perennially, like Texas Tech, doing what they're doing. And Arizona State, right? Last year, you got TCU who hops in there. You have these weird teams, right, that are so inconsistent, and all of a sudden they're winning at a massive level.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Arizona State, because that's a really interesting example here. Arizona State won a surprise Big 12 championship without spending a lot of money. And then the Valley rallies behind Kenny Dillingham, and they say, oh, Sam Levitt's the truth. We don't have Scadaboo anymore. You got to keep Sam Levitt here. Here's $4 million is the reported number for Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt is no longer at Arizona State. He's gone.
Crazy.
So Arizona State, interestingly, was more successful when they weren't spending than when they were.
Yeah.
And I know that that's not the model that anyone should try to follow, because it's more realistic that if you pay the guys, if you have highly paid guys, most of those guys justify that with their talent, with their effort, et cetera, and that translates to wins. But Arizona State's a really interesting example of why we have to get away from, well, as long as you can buy it, you can win it. They finally got money. He was begging for money over and over and over again. And by the way, he's probably going to go to Michigan because he doesn't have to beg so aggressively.
Yeah.
But a bunch of people down in the Valley stepped up. He had more money than he ever had, and the team this year didn't deliver the same level. So it changed that culture a little bit. Sam Levitt didn't even go to the team banquet.
Well, he got hurt, and when they was healthy, they beat Tech. I'm a believer in that team with Levitt. I think they probably would have won the whole thing in our conference.
We'll never know.
We will never know. And to your point, winning money does not mean winning. It just means you have a higher chance, Sean. And all we're saying here is that we don't want to have the odds so stacked against a first-year coach, right, who's never really been a head coach outside of youth ball. Now we're going to ask this guy to coach at the bottom of the salary cap. And he's replacing a 21-year legend. And he's the first, Sean, you're a former player. He's the first former player who's ever coached here. So I'm very not happy about that. And I think we all should be. I wish I had more money so I could loan it to us, okay? But that seventh board seat, Sean, okay, that's the key here. They're looking for somebody to step up here, a group of people, and solve this issue. They're offering ownership in that seventh seat, Class C membership.
The seventh seat is for sale.
Yes.
Effectively.
And we need the third-party money now. All we need is it promised, okay? Listen, you don't have to pay him right now. We can survive till July, August, September, right? But as long as we have a promissory, no, we don't pay him all at once. It buys us time to fix this problem. But right now, guys, we're having a hard time negotiate. I know it because I'm on the inside with the players, right? On the other, I know what's going on in this regard. It's a struggle because we're still waiting to see if we're going to get some more money.
Do you think Kyle Whittingham wanted to stay?
Yes, if the money was there. Again, if they're going to pay you money not to work, what if they pay you money to possibly win it all? Yeah, I'll work for that.
When you say $10 million not to coach, what are you referring to?
I'm assuming there's a buyout. He had, 2 years left on his deal?
A voluntary step down there's no buyout involved.
Well, I'm betting there was some kind of arrangement made. I don't know, but I'm betting. Why? I mean, why would he step down that way? Maybe not. I could be wrong, but if they paid him any money, I know it's coming from a different pool. It's just the idea that we're going to waste energy, and I used to call it money energy.
Well, it is.
On someone which we all love and dearly, and he's owed that, and then not deal with the big problem in the room. I mean, Coach Witt still works for the school. They're going to pay him this year, right, to work in some regard as an advisor of some kind.
So, I mean,
we're not funding
as far
the
as
team.
we know, yes.
Yeah.
But this is where that announcement was so interesting because he made a statement that didn't say retirement in it. His agent made a statement that didn't say retirement in it. The university made a statement that did not say retirement in it. It feels like whatever agreement was hammered out has something to do with the fact that, A, there is perhaps a desire to coach if the fit is right, or maybe we're looking at a situation where they never actually truly agreed, but because the legacy is intact, because he's walking away on a 10-win season, they wanted to let this thing be as smooth of an exit as possible. We had a huge press conference for the private equity deal. There has yet to be a sincere press conference or any kind of, aside from paragraphs written by each party, we haven't heard a damn thing about the end of a 21-year reign.
That's pretty telling in some regards. I mean, if I'm reading between the lines here, OC, I just think it was a volatile situation, and I think it had to do with money on the roster, among other things. Okay, that right there, though, is on every coach's mind right now.
As it should be.
Everyone is worried about this. How are we going to keep this guy with this guy? And then what if you just are at the bottom of the salary? You have the bottom of the pool here. So I don't know if Coach Witt wanted to be involved in all that after a 10-win season. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for him. I'm speculating, and I know that we don't have the money now, and we didn't have it then. I'm assuming that we fired him by omission in a way. It's like, you're not getting it, dude.
Interesting. These are things I haven't heard. I don't discount your sources. I don't discount your connection. I mean, you have meetings.
Yes, I'm on my own on this one. Thank you for clarifying.
You have meetings that we don't have. You know what I mean? You have discussions that we don't have, and I'm glad you bring that perspective to the airwaves for us because, I mean, we've had everyone weigh in one way or another about, like, okay, was this the right time for Kyle Whittingham? Did he actually want to go? Is he being forced out? Is this, I talked all year long about the fact that he was, like, cruising toward the runway. Every sign I could read was that Kyle Whittingham was wrapping it up after this year.
Yeah.
And so I was surprised when I started to hear from people after the announcement came out. I'm in France when the announcement comes out. It's midnight over there, and I'm getting text messages about, well, this might not be as clean as you think it is. And I'm like, okay. So I'm genuinely surprised by that because I told you this. When we went into that Kansas State game, I was looking around the parking lot, the stands, the VIP section. I'm looking for certain faces that are only going to be there if this is Kyle's last home game. And they were all there. And then I walked out of the tunnel after the press conference, and the whole clan is out taking the big group photo on the 50-yard line or whatever. And they're all smiles, and it's all kind of commemorative, celebratory, congratulatory. And I'm just like, that is not something you see.
Yeah, you're right.
That pertains to NIL stuff. That's not something you see that pertains to being forced out. I was watching that and reading whatever tea leaves were available to me that, like, this is a man who has planned his exit for 2 years now. Would have been gone last year, but they went 5-7, too competitive to walk away on that note. And what we got was an announcement on a Friday afternoon that, yes, I'm done at Utah. And I was like, okay, so I was right. But I wasn't. Because what I was expecting was I'm retiring. I'm riding off into the sunset. I love to go to Hawaii every year. Now I get to do it for the whole dang year if I want. I'm going to ride my bike and play tennis and play golf and ski. We have gotten none of that, Trevor, and I don't think it's coming.
I wouldn't be surprised either way. Coach Witt's an enigma, okay? He used to call someone I know the mysterious, very mysterious. He's a mysterious guy, right? He's very, very much that way.
He says the same things about you, by the way.
Well, that's why we do this little dance with each other. Like, well, who's telling the truth here, okay? It's really what's – no, I think that let me just make this clear. Morgan Scalley couldn't be more happier for him. and the program, okay?
Love Morgan. I cannot wait for our first conversation with Morgan Scally, head coach at the University of Utah. I texted him that the other day. He says, can't wait, brother. It's going to be a wonderful celebratory moment for me, but I also have questions about what we're talking about now.
I'm concerned, Sean, because you don't want to be poor, right? You don't want to be poor in this game. You got to have a little bit of freedom here. So if we're all in this together as an institution, right, we just have to look at this thing. If we don't solve this financial issue, the expectations to me, you got to temper them a little bit. And that's just how I see it, right? It's Moneyball now. College football to me is not the NBA and the NFL. It's more it's more Major League Baseball and European soccer. And I think that means you're either growing, right, or you're selling. And right now we're on pace to be sellers at when the market opens. And if we are going to be sellers, then poor people, you buy land and you farm. And I think there's an opportunity to really go out and do a whole reconstruct. Like private equity here, we're going to redo this whole thing so we don't always have to be relying on donor money. We're good at building systems. We just built one that beat the NCAA over and over and over again. And we did it with keeping our head pretty clean, right? Our nose clean. So if that's what we're going to do, right, then okay. But if we're going to talk all this game, right, that we're going to bring this team back and do all this stuff, the zeros are not aligning for me to have full confidence, not because I don't believe in the staff or the players. It's hard to argue against math. It's just difficult.
So do you think that if somebody comes to Kyle Whittingham, if part of his decision, and I don't think it was much, but if part of his decision was made based on a financial outlook that he thought was grim, and somebody comes to him with a different story, right, and says, hey, we're going to be the top NIL team in the Mountain West Conference. We're going to be the top NIL team in the Big Ten. We're going to be the whatever. You think Kyle Whittingham is coaching sooner than later again?
I think he'd think about it real hard, okay? And he'd probably go through his process. I remember when Tennessee wanted him. He went through his process, and he decided to stay. Kyle, no, I know this. The other option is playing golf. So if you have a chance to work at Ann Arbor, or you can go play at Salt Lake Country Club or Maui, we can delay that a few days, right?
I mean,
and I'm sure you can take as many trips as you want on the private plane. Larry Ellison lives on freaking Lanai, dude. There's all type of opportunities, right, if you want to work. It's just a question, isn't he money? Doesn't he fame? He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Does he want to spend the time on this? I don't know. I don't know. I just know what I do know is that we didn't have money when he was here, and we don't have it now. And I think that had a big thing to do with it, because as a coach, you go back to point B, everybody as a coach, this is what you're meeting about all day, OC. Just this. Who do we get? How we got?
So what's the solution?
We need to get together and have a meeting, all right? Meaning anybody who wants to get that seat, right? We got the Utah Players Association. We've been meeting with some people. We want to be represented on that board, and we want a financial partner.
But you can't just print money.
No, we got to earn it. We got to generate it. Club 22 is a good one.
You have to be someone out there. I mean, if we're talking about closing this gap and you're talking about doing it in the next 3 weeks, you're not raising money.
Promissory note. We don't need it till August. We need it committed. We need a handshake deal that we can do it, and that's all we need, dude. We need Big Matt Garf to write a check for $8 million like he did a couple years ago, and then we need to figure out a way to make Matt Garf some money. That's where the Player Association comes in. Alumni Coach Witt, and we'll go out and we'll build a system that will be an earner for this thing. Well, and you'll help us, OC. You're smarter than all of us. Gosh, you've written 2 books.
I don't. Well.
You got a dog that'll eat somebody.
I'm good at imagination. I'm not good at much else. It's a fascinating time, and the private equity deal, you're going to get a lot more. There are hardworking Big J journalists that are diving into this thing right now. There's a state legislature, and there are people up on Capitol Hill that are taking close looks at it. There are people up on the Hill, meaning the one that the university sits on itself, that are making sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and all this. And we're going to get beyond the headline of, hey, this could be a game changer. This could be $500 million. We're going to get a more practical understanding of what private equity money is going to do for your sports programs. But, I mean, for me, the number one thing right now, and you were alluding to this, reasoning aside, Kyle Whittingham ain't changing his mind. The department is not changing his mind. Whoever decided that it's over in those 21 years, it is over. And that means the start of a new era with Morgan Scally has to be set up for success, like you're talking about.
Has to. And if we don't, we need to rally for Scally. Can you get that on a T-shirt?
Yes.
It's rally for Scally.
Print
all
it
right?
up. Print it up right now. I want. We already have the he's coming home with the Alex Jensen face on it. I want to rally for Scally.
Rally for Scally. Let's get a big cheesy smile with him like
Rally
that.
for Scally. Rally for Scally. All right, we're doing it.
One last thing I want to say about that topic, if you don't mind. I'd like to see everyone get on board together. I'm happy about the private equity deal because it pays our bills. So we can focus on what we need to focus on. That's building the roster and getting the right coaches. And so I want to see everything work. I'm not against the private equity deal, but I'm against snowing people about whether or not we got money to solve this problem, okay? That's what I thought was a little bit of a snow job. We're going to go here, here, here all at the same time. Nobody knows the rules, and we're just stick it out there. And, wait, we didn't get who we wanted. It's January 16th. What happened?
We'll see what happens with the players, but the coaching thing, you don't have to wait till transfer portal opens. Morgan Scally is presumably going to have to elevate somebody to be the defensive coordinator, or he's going to have to go out and get somebody to be the defensive coordinator.
How about Swan?
Who do you want it to be?
Colton Swan?
I love Colton Swan. I put a poll out. He was the number one answer on the poll. Jay
Hill would be nice, too.
Jay Hill would be nice, too. That comes back to that financial discussion because – Jay just got a big fat raise from BYU.
And I wonder if Morgan's going to decide to be heavily involved in the defense still, which is his prerogative. I just wonder if he's going to do it or not.
There's no way that he just says, all right, never mind, I won't touch this anymore. Is
he going to do the staff meetings?
He's going to do it all.
Well, I'm saying that those are the decisions, right, as you alluded to, when you're recruiting kids, right? They want to know that now. This is analytics stuff. They got ChatGPT. They're going to say, hey, this coach is in there. This is the way I play. All the stuff, right? To your point, that's the most important thing. The private equity deal is good. It's good for the school. I'm happy for the budget. I'm happy for all that stuff. We got to find coaches and we got to find players, and that means we need some cheese, and we need a program to make sure we can pay for it. And we need a promissory note. Remember, we don't need the money until August. We can afford it until then.
Yeah, we'll see how that all plays out. Trevor Riley will be here informing us. We'll get the behind the scenes.
You ever heard of Abinadi, right? The boy who cried wolf. Hey, everybody, come on, please.
Is that a Book of Mormon thing?
He's on the wall, right? What's he telling him, James? Can you lighten us here?
Well, yeah, it is a Book of Mormon figure.
Okay.
Abinadi. There's a favorite painting among members of the faith of him standing in chains talking to a king about, hey, what's coming, and you got to repent and all that stuff. So I think the analogy you're going for is like, hey, we've got there's some doom happening if we don't step up to the table, right? Is that what you're saying, Trevor? If we don't fix it with financially.
He's got no headphones on.
Oh, he's not hearing it. Yeah.
I'm double thumb, though. I think it was double thumb.
That's
right?
probably where he's going.
I think you're right. So this is the Sean O'Connell Show, which is sports talk radio, and also apparently it's deep cut LDS
talk too. Yeah, let's go.
Deep cut LDS art reference radio. That's why we love having Trevor Riley come in. The Daily Dump is next. There's some interesting things going on in the world of sports. We'll bounce around a little bit and try to get to all of them. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show, and it's time for the Daily Dump. We'll bounce around, a little potpourri of stories. Look for the truck with the duck. Valley Plumbing is now Valley Plumbing and HVAC. They're giving, he will now forego the rest of the practices, the team stuff, and he will focus on preparing for the draft, which hilariously is not football stuff. They all go and they spend time drilling on jumping, on running short distances very fast, on change of movement, change of direction type movements, bench pressing 225 as many times as they can. So he will get into the hyper-specific combine training. But Caleb Lomu, as expected, is off to the NFL draft. And I do have to say, I think it's massively important that he gets the love from this Utah fan base that he deserves, not just now, because the Ute fan base did a great job of it all season long, but not just now, forever. Because Caleb Lomu is always going to be the guy who was the other tackle when Spencer Fano won the Outland Trophy. He was always going to be the guy who was the other first-team all-conference honoree when Spencer Fano was the Polynesian Player of the Year. By the way, Caleb Lomu was also nominated for that, was also a finalist for that. He is always
the guy who wasn't an All-American, right?
Exactly.
Too.
Exactly. The guy who played just as well, but didn't have the same kind of name recognition coming into the season, and that does matter. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Spencer Fano because Spencer deserves those accolades, but so does Caleb Lomu. He had a phenomenal season, and he did a great job playing left tackle and handling his business out there at arguably the most important position on an offensive line, especially when you got a right-handed quarterback. So Caleb Lomu deserves a ton of credit for what he did, and I'm thankful that the Utah fan base seems to know that, but it's something that I'm going to over-index on moving forward. Like every conversation about this year's offensive line being anchored by Spencer Fano and being a great offensive line and a number 2 rushing attack in the country, Caleb Lomu was every bit as important to that as Spencer Fano was. And he doesn't have the trophies in the trophy case, and he won't have quite as many plaques and stuff to acknowledge that. I mean, first team all-conference, he certainly deserved that, and probably more. But good for him that now he gets to go and explore his pro opportunities. And look, Jeff Schwartz has been saying this for over a year now. He really does believe that Spencer is going to be drafted in the first round, but that Caleb is going to be drafted higher
and have a better NFL
and have
career.
a better NFL career.
And he was careful to say, I think Spencer's going to have Fano, as he says.
Yeah, he calls him Fano. No matter how many times in the question I say Fano, he always says Fano.
He's careful to say, I don't think he's going to be a bust or anything. I think he has a chance to be a really good NFL player too, but he likes the upside that Caleb Lomu brings and the way that he pass protects specifically. And by the way, I was not like literally keeping track, but in my head I was keeping track of the things that he's been right about. Jeff Schwartz has been right about a lot of stuff this year.
It's so painful. It's so obnoxious, man. Jeff is always right.
He's been right about a lot of stuff this year, and some of it, and a lot of it has not been as easy to be right on as like to say Ohio State's gonna be the number 1 team in the country this year. Okay, it's not something that easy, right? It's obscure things like I think your other tackle's better than the one that's getting all the attention. So I think Jeff is probably gonna be right about this one too.
It's, you know, when you have one of those friends who just like states things matter-of-factly, like it's already gospel truth, and you're like, well, hold on, that's debatable, and then they end up being right, and you're just like,
play all the complicated scenarios play out and ends up coming out the way that they said it.
Jeff is that dude.
Yeah,
he is that guy. Anyway,
but yeah, I'll also say this: we got his picture on the wall behind you. I feel like it's a similar comparison to Brandon Carlson as a running Utes basketball player in his career, except for the fact that Lomu's seen a lot more success, on-field success.
Carlson was not an All-American or even a first-team All-Conference guy.
But he's a guy that we mentioned it before his final season ended. Bill Riley was really good when he was in this spot on this station for a long time talking about it too. He's not Keith Van Horn, but he is, as an individual perspective, he is among the legends of the program. It just didn't have the team accolades to do that. I feel like it's similar in that with Caleb Lomu, except that he did have a lot of team accolades. He just was overshadowed by someone else who happened to play the same position on the same line as him. Both, I think, in the way that we talked about, Brandon Carlson deserves to be remembered as a legend of his program at the University of Utah. Lomu deserves that too, despite not getting the same kind of individual recognition that Spencer Fano is getting.
Did you hear about Mark Pope in his voice?
I did not.
The former BYU coach is not allowed to yell for the next several weeks because he's damaged his vocal cords by yelling so much these last several days that he literally cannot yell. He's only supposed to speak at a conversational volume or risk permanent damage to his voice and a permanent alteration of his voice. I have not seen a vocal risk like this since Pitch Perfect 2.
Nodes. I have nodes. Oh, man, that's a good reference.
I'm a massive fan of the Pitch Perfect franchise.
People, especially men, like to hate on that franchise. It's fantastic.
No, it's amazing.
It's one of those, maybe for people like you and I, men who we're in sports, we're supposed to have this macho whatever. It should be a guilty pleasure, but it's beyond that for me.
No, it's just a pleasure. I love it.
It's like the other one that's like that is, did you see the other woman?
No.
Very good. Cameron Diaz,
Kate Upton. Okay.
And hilarious, but also very much not. We're not the target audience.
I tell you what, man. There are some movies that you develop effect. I've never had a bad time watching Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Or Pitch Perfect 2, or even Pitch Perfect 3. Pitch Perfect 1 is the best, but
they're all good.
They're all good.
Yeah.
Also, the riff off where they do the singing thing, like the compilation. It's just awesome. Like, people who are talented singers, it's a fun thing to see.
Yeah, even when Clay Matthews joins the riff off, is that the third movie? even that's good. Like,
by the way, it's Clay Matthews and like the whole offensive line of the Green Bay Packers.
That's right.
Crazy. Anyway, Mark Pope has to be quiet.
Back to sports.
This would be such a funny thing to follow. Like, if their social media team is trying to get, a larger following or something, just put a camera on him at all times as he tries not to yell for the next 2 weeks. As a basketball coach, seriously, how are you supposed to pull this off?
By the way, how if he's having this kind of, if he's risked his vocal cords and permanent damage like this, and he's been coaching for a decade of major college, mid-major and now high-major college basketball, maybe a little bit longer. How is, like, Tom Izzo and Craig Smith even, the guys who perpetually have the hoarse voice, Tom Thibodeau, Doc Rivers, have we not heard about them? Hey, you're going to lose your voice here. The way that they sound.
They've developed scar tissue on those.
I guess so.
Their nodes have now gotten so bad that they've just – and Mark, what if Mark Pope has just a beautiful singing voice that is about to be threatened?
What if he's like Thurl Bailey? Just a beautiful voice. Yeah.
Also,
protect the voice, Mark. Locals
in the NFL type news. I heard Scott Mitchell talking about this on Down and Dirty earlier today. Jackson Dart. I love you, dude. Jackson Dart has to start wearing the impact cap or whatever that thing is called.
Guardian cap.
He has now been evaluated. He's been put in concussion protocol, and past concussion protocol is an important distinction here. But he's been put in concussion protocol 5 times in his rookie season.
5 times? I was going to say this is the 3rd time. No, he's had 2 concussions, right? And so he's been in the protocol 3 other times?
Yes, and he's passed those, right? They send him to the tent. They have him do how many fingers am I holding up?
Yeah.
And, what's your mom's maiden name and all whatever the the protocol stuff
thing.
is, yeah,
Follow the pen.
follow the pen in front of you without your eyes completely bugging out. By the way, have you ever seen when someone fails that?
I have not.
Everyone knows. Everyone's been to the doctor and you follow their finger, or you follow the light, or you follow the pen or whatever. And people know, like, okay, that's just something they do. Have you ever watched when someone fails it?
I have not.
Dude, it's insane. One of the ways that you can fail it is that you try to follow it and your eyes start spasming and going brrr, and like have a little eye freak out.
Oh, no.
That's terrifying. I watched that after a UFC fight one time. The guy was just like,
I was going to say, no doubt there's millions of videos online of people failing this,
but
you can find.
in any case, Jackson Dart, my dog, all right? Put on the Guardian cap, do the slide, and find a way to keep your brain healthy for the rest of your career. Please. Last thing I want to get to in the Daily Dump, and then I have some incredible Joe Klatt sound for you. You're going to want to hear it. It is as much as you need to hear someone in the national media say about Kyle Whittingham. It really is excellent. But Shedeur Sanders, I don't know, James, we've talked about this some, the sports memorabilia collectors, the card collectors. A Shedeur Sanders rookie card sold for over $50,000.
Wow.
Now, Shedeur is the starter for Cleveland. He's been named the continual starter.
Yeah.
He threw 3 picks in the last game. Not all of them.
Good Bears team.
One of those were not his fault, right?
Are you talking about the Jalen Johnson pick?
I think that was his fault.
You think it was? Okay, because that one was close either way. Judy probably should have come down with that.
He threw it. He threw one kind of over the middle where, I mean, it just.
The ping pong ball or
that's not your fault.
Pinball machine
ricochet,
that one very much less his fault than the Jalen Johnson pick. Shout out to Jalen Johnson, by the way.
Good to see him healthy and
first pick of the season. I did not realize he hadn't had a pick yet, but he's missed time. Yeah.
But $50,000 for a Shedeur Sanders rookie card. Now, this is one of those things. This is like, this guy's either going to look like an incredible genius, or he's going to feel like I felt when I spent like $10 on a limited edition bobblehead with Sister Jean from Loyola Marymount or wherever that
Or you mean anyone who bought any of the highlighter yellow or black and yellow monstrosities of Jazz jerseys that they've now given you 2 opportunities to exchange this year. I don't know if you saw that.
These are so bad you don't have to wear them. We will take them back.
I see those in the arena when I've been to Jazz games still, and I'm like, why did you spend money on those?
Hold on, no. Why did the team spend money to get that? Like, that was the craziest thing.
But also, it's your choice to buy what the team puts out there. You do not have to buy bad stuff from the team. Like, PSA, save your money and wait for when it's better.
Save your money and wait for when the team feels so ashamed that they offer free exchanges on it.
2 of them this season.
Shedeur Sanders rookie card selling for over $50, and the card he's wearing is not his actual jersey number because the picture is from a preseason game.
Oh, okay.
So it's not even his real jersey number.
I didn't realize that makes sense. Later draft picks that you're not sure if they're going to make the team, they don't have a permanent jersey number yet. But I didn't realize.
I think he's wearing 13 in the.
Is he 12 now?
He's 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. 50,000.
That's
all right.
You got too much money if you're spending that on a Shedeur Sanders card, guys. I got to put that out there.
Hey, he's still a phenomenon, man. Even if he's not playing phenomenally, he's still a phenomenon.
Phenomenon. Bum, bum, banana. Remember that from Sesame Street?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I don't know.
Got to take a quick one here. When we come back, Joel Klatt sound about Kyle Whittingham that you do not want to miss. It is about 3 minutes of your favorite Utah head coach, just in a nutshell. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Now through January 4th, Big O Tires has $100 instant savings on select in-stock tires with installation. Again, that runs through January 4th at participating dealers all up and down the Wasatch Front, multiple locations. You've got a Big O Tires in your neighborhood. Look them up. Tell them OC sent you. Also, 12 or 6-month special financing on purchases, qualifying purchases. Man, if you're trying to get new tires for the car, and the weather is going to get bad. Right now we've been unseasonably warm. It's going to get bad. The snow and the ice are going to be a factor. You know how it is, those first few storms of the season where people forgot how to drive in the bad weather from last year. Don't be one of those people. Have good tires on your car. Keep yourself safe. Keep your family safe. Keep me safe. Keep my family safe. Big O Tires can hook you up with instant savings and with special financing right now at all participating locations. You need an oil change, they'll take care of it. You need the fluids checked, the brakes, whatever, they've got you covered. Big O Tires, several locations all up and down the Wasatch Front. Tell them you heard about it on the Sean O'Connell Show. All right. Between the Pipes with Adrian Denny is coming to start hour number 3, but I wanted to give you this. Joel Klatt is one of my favorite analysts in the game. He's obviously, he's the number one guy on the Fox television networks, and he has, in recent years especially, he's been pretty on board the Utah football train. Even when you're suffering through a 5-7 season, Joel Klatt was one of those national voices who was like, okay, but give it the right context. Pay attention to why. Injuries are piling up, et cetera, et cetera. He's a big fan of Utah football. He's a big fan of Kyle Whittingham, and he was asked about Coach Witt, and he gave a really good answer about, really why Coach Witt is thought of the way that he's thought of by Klatt and by other people in the game. Take a listen to Joel Klatt talking about Kyle Whittingham.
Kyle Whittingham at Utah is going to step away after 21 seasons as the Utah head coach. I love Kyle Whittingham. A quick story that I wanted to tell you, because Kyle's a competitive dude and he's very in shape. You can tell, on the sidelines, he's in incredible shape. I have a Peloton bike, and I like to ride the Peloton bike fairly hard. So I'm competitive with it. And I can get up there and post some decent numbers. Okay. Let me just say that. Don't worry. This is not about me. So Kyle walks into our production meeting. This is 2 years ago, I think it was. We're in town to do a Utah game. And on Fridays, we meet with the home coaches. And Kyle always works out right before he walks into the production meeting. And that's how he's always done it, and he always walks in with a towel around his neck, and he sits down and he's still sweating a little bit, and he does the production meeting. And I always love our conversations because, again, he's honest, he's forthright, loves his team, and he does it the right way. But he sits down, and he was like extra tired, and he was sweating hard. And he sits down and he goes, "I just kicked your ass on the Peloton." He's staring right at me. And of course, my whole crew starts laughing. And we're just like, wait, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I found your name on there. And so he had found a ride that I had done, like a 45-minute ride. And he found my name on the leaderboard. And then he just put it in his head. He's like, well, I'm going to beat him today. And he did. And I'm just like, I'm telling you, I rode really hard, and it was a high number. It was not an easy number. And then the last thing that I would say, I've got 3 sons, and I don't know if they'll be athletes in college. I don't know. But if any of them were ever to be a college football player, here's the greatest compliment that I can pay any college football coach is when I would say, I would want my son to play for Kyle Whittingham.
The ultimate compliment, and he said it right there, but the ultimate compliment you can pay to any coach, especially in an era that is so defined by finances and is so defined by television contracts and coaching contracts and NIL contracts. Joel Klatt was a Division I football player, all right? Got his cup of coffee in the NFL now. Is one of the best analysts in the game. He is around every coach. He's had conversations with every coach. And he said, I would send my sons. He's got 3 of them. I would send my sons to play for Kyle Whittingham. That is the kind of legacy, when it's all said and done, no matter who you are or where you are, that's what you want people to say about you.
And secondly, you want people to say, I kicked your ass on the Peloton today. That's
Well,
the second thing you want people to say about you.
The other part of that is you want a guy who you're old enough to be his dad. Joel Klatt is my age, okay?
Okay.
Which means Kyle Whittingham is the same age as my mother.
Right.
Kyle Whittingham literally could be Joel Klatt's dad, and it is 100% believable, and Joel Klatt would not tell this story if it were not true, that Kyle Whittingham was just like, oh, Peloton, Joel Klatt. Yeah, I can beat that. And he goes out and does it.
It's amazing. I
actually so desperately wish I had the kind of relationship with Kyle Whittingham because he's a big combat sports fan. He loves boxing especially. I would love to go do a workout session with Coach Witt, like on a bag, hold pads for him, see what kind of punches. I wish I could do that with Kyle Whittingham. Because
try to make it happen, man. Now that he's not coaching, at least for the time being.
A light spar with Kyle Whittingham would be a highlight of your life. You know what I mean? But in all seriousness, I mean, there's like people want the drama to be real or they want the drama to be totally made up because we want this exit for Kyle Whittingham to be as dignified and as respectful and as respected as possible. And that is a national media member paying the ultimate compliment to a guy who, I mean, say what you will about Kyle Whittingham, but when you boil it down, that's what he wants people to remember about him. I don't think he cares the same way that most of us would care about the fact that it's going to be Kyle Whittingham Field at Rice-Eccles Stadium or there's going to be a statue. He doesn't like that kind of stuff. But he does want people to say, yeah, that's a good man. That's the kind of guy you want your kids to go play for. Like, that matters to Kyle Whittingham. He's not going to sit and crow about it all the time, but that's the stuff that matters. And that's, by the way, we're so lucky here in the state because you can say that about Kalani Sitake.
Absolutely.
You could say that about Ron McBride. People do say that about Kyle Whittingham. They will say that about Morgan Scalley. I think they'll say that about Eric Kerr, who went up to Weber State now.
And when Jay Hill becomes a head coach somewhere in state or otherwise, they're going to say that about him. They were saying that at Weber State. Yeah.
You know, as much as we're not huge fans of Bronco Mendenhall all the time from the Utah lens, like, I think you can say that about Bronco Mendenhall at Utah State. I think you can say, yeah, like, that's the kind of guy you want to go. You send your kid to play for him, and there's going to be some focus on character development. There's going to be some focus on work ethic. There's going to be some focus on things aside from winning and maximizing dollars.
And if you're anything like Bryson Barnes, he's going to gush over you in every press conference he has, any chance he gets, too.
And if your kid is as tough as Bryson Barnes, you now have the number one advocate. Like Bryson Barnes, Bronco Mendenhall will be coaching probably for at least another 10 years. Bryson Barnes can have a job anywhere that Bronco Mendenhall, breathes air.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, yeah, dude, come work for me. That's a cool thing.
By the way, we didn't, since I brought up Bryson Barnes, we didn't really, there were other things going on, so we didn't really spend any time on him having a senior day and his career being over. But like you mentioned the toughness with Bryson Barnes, and he had a heck of a season in the tangible ways of a quarterback too. But he was not that kind of quarterback at Utah. But you could never question that toughness. And that's something like even the Baylor game in 2023, terrible game for him. Nate Johnson had to come in and orchestrate the comeback at the end and give Utah the win. But it was just so fun and, like, I'll use the word endearing to watch him just get back up after getting the snot knocked out of him every other play and just keep going. And that was Bryson Barnes. He didn't have the talent to be a starting quarterback at the Pac-12 level, but just you could never question that guy's toughness. And he finally had a really good season as a starting quarterback at a little bit lower level at Utah State this year to show, hey, yeah, I can play quarterback too. I'm not just a guy who can take a hit. So anyway.
I mean,
shout out to Bryson Barnes.
I'm a massive Bryson Barnes fan because to come from where he came from and to end up being the guy, even for like this little snapshot in the Rose Bowl that he was, and then to give Utah good play, not great play, not like game-changing, I'm going to win you championships type play, but to be like even a serviceable quarterback when you're not supposed to be capable of that, he's a legend. And I'm glad he is what the transfer portal is kind of designed for. All right, the writing's on the wall. My future is not here at Utah. I'm going to roll back to a place like Utah State, and I'm going to be appreciated there. And he made a little bit of money too, which is great. Not a ton. He's not, set for life like some of these college kids are, but good for Bryson Barnes. And good for Kyle Whittingham. Everything else that comes out in the wash, if more people can say about you what Joel Klatt said than not, then you are successful as a coach. All the wins and everything, of course, are going to be more talked about and more important. But there are plenty of guys who went through the program who don't like Kyle Whittingham, who didn't have great experiences when he was the coach because of whatever. There are more guys who you will say, yeah, I'm glad I played for him. Yeah, he helped me develop as a person, a player, a man. Yeah, I would let my kid go play for him. In fact, there are people who did let their kids go play for him. There are people who sent their kids to play for Kyle Whittingham. He's in that world now where he was in place for so long that players from my generation and slightly before have kids old enough to be on that Utah football team. Right? Casey Evans' son is on the team right now. So, I mean, that's the ultimate compliment you can pay to a coach. I'm glad Joel Klatt did it because when it's just us, the local media, gushing and talking and praising about someone that you have some kind of personal attachment to, it doesn't ring as genuine sometimes, probably. Joel Klatt has no horse in this race, except that, hey, man, I'm impressed by that person because of what I know, what I've done, what they've done, etc. Pretty cool to see, well, I guess to hear. All right, we're way over time. That's what I always do. We go between the pipes with Adrian Denny, our Utah Mammoth insider, next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome back to hour number 3. Welcome in our good friend and Utah Mammoth insider, Adrian Denny. We're going to have Andy Larson join us here in just a little bit. Between the Pipes, brought to you by our friends over at Aladdin Industries and Valley Plumbing, the truck with the duck. ESPN 792 on FM and the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers, by the way, inviting you to help those at the road home this holiday season. The blanket, coat, shoe, hat, boot, glove drive ends tomorrow. The big convoy is going to roll up, so go to your local Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer. Donate today. Adrian Denny, how are you?
What's up, Sean? Thanks for having me in, as always. Look forward to our Wednesday visits.
Yeah, it's great to see you. So this Utah Mammoth Club now rounding into the next several weeks without Logan Cooley. How are they adjusting so far in your mind?
I think they've been fine. I think they've done a good job of moving forward. And Andre Cherney said when Logan got hurt, well, if anybody around here thinks they need to step up, then they shouldn't be in the NHL, because you need to give more than 100% every single day, whether your leading goal scorer is here or not. But last couple of years when when Logan Cooley has been out, Dylan Gunther has really pushed into overdrive. He's got 5 goals in 6 games this year without Cooley. Last year, they were both hurt, and then Gunther came back a few games earlier, had 8 points in a 5-game stretch without Cooley in the lineup. So Gunther's pushed into high gear, and gosh, he just piles up goals, and he's on pace for 35 this year. He had 27 last year. So Mammoth are putting the puck in the net without Cooley. And the big thing is, Sean, is I think we're seeing there's just some matchups, and there's some teams that a team that's getting 3, 4, 5 goals a night plays and gets 0, 1, and 2, which has been the struggles for the Mammoth the last couple of weeks here when they haven't won. They played a big Boston team last night, had the biggest defensive core in the NHL, the heaviest D-men in the NHL, the 3rd tallest D-men in the NHL, and just weren't getting to those spots you need to go to score goals. The tough areas, we saw it last week against Florida, saw it against the LA Kings. So I think that's a challenge for the group as a whole, right? They can score. They've done a good job without Cooley. Daniil Boot's been a big part of stepping into the lineup. Kyler Yamamoto is always around too, but I think that's the biggest challenge, more so than missing your top goal scorer right now. It's just kind of that identity of, when things are good, everybody's going along to get along, and everybody's there for point night. But on the nights where things are hard, we just haven't seen, what you'd hope. Like last night, like you get a goal in the first period on the power play, and the game ends, and you're like, we just got a single goal. We had 1 goal in the game. So for me, that's the biggest area of concern when you're scoring not very much against Boston, LA, Florida, and then you put up 5 against Pittsburgh, 5 against Seattle. Like, come on, let's dig in a little more here.
So I heard a conversation with Bill Armstrong the other day, and he was asked about, kind of, are you on pace? Are you ahead of the curve? Are you behind where you thought you were going to be? And he's been as realistic about these things and tried to set expectations and have everyone kind of temper themselves a little bit. And he said, we're kind of where we thought we would be. Now, 16-16-3 is the official record at this point, and flirting with that, bubble line in the playoff hunt. Plenty of hockey left to play. I always defer to somebody like Bill Armstrong because he knows a lot more about this team than I ever will. But do you agree that this is kind of on the pace that was set in this offseason?
I do. Bill's the first guy that'll say, all right, when the team had won 7 in a row, everybody's going nuts and everybody's stoked and, oh, this team's made it. And Bill's like, yeah, we're going to go through some ups and downs here, everybody. Let's pump the brakes. And for the Mammoth, Bill has said all along, we want to get to Christmas, to New Year's, and be in a good position to be in that playoff spot by the time the year's all said and done with, right? You don't want to be 12 points out. you don't want to be 6 points out. But if you're within 2 to 4 points when you get through this gauntlet, which has been this road schedule so far, tonight's the 36th game of the year. It's a 22nd road game. Over 60% of the games have been played on the road, with road trips that have come with games in bunches. And teams hung in there, haven't been perfect, right? There's stuff in the second half of the season. I think, when you play a team like New Jersey on Friday night, who kind of suffocated you last year. All right, let's go in. Let's make something out of this. Let's show some progress. Let's go to those tough areas and collectively play a game where we can get, a couple more goals like we get when we're playing teams that aren't as sound defensively, like say Seattle and Pittsburgh. But yeah, I think they're exactly where Bill projected and expected, and he's got an analytic team and an assistant general manager in David Ludwig, who's just a genius. He's an attorney, and he's got projections and stuff built out for years in terms of the lineup, in terms of progress and where we want to be for this year. But I think they're probably exactly kind of where they expected. 500 isn't glamorous, but they're still on the line. They're within 2 points of that wild card spot, and then you get to Friday, and you've got 60% of the games at home the rest of the year, with over half the season remaining. And Dominic Moore, who played over a decade in the NHL, who's on our Hockey Night in Utah broadcast team, told us yesterday, because we're talking about this schedule, and he's like, "No, this is real." He said, and I feel for these guys. I've been through this. I know what it's like when you're, it's every other night, and these road trips keep piling up. And he's like, but I think this team may have seen the light at the end of the tunnel in the last week. And the game against Seattle, the game against Pittsburgh, like, oh gosh, we're almost through this. And to be in a position where the games aren't going to be as frequent like every other day. Utah this year, 35 games before Christmas on one day's rest on a back-to-back. Last year there was 25 before Christmas.
How's the NHL decide? Because there's teams that have played like 31 games, and we're talking about 36 for this Mammoth squad. How do they decide how to space those things out? And I mean, I know that the effort is always to have it be relatively even, but
sure,
a 4-game disparity before Christmas is significant.
Yeah, it is a lot, and it's just how things lay out, building availabilities. The Delta Center at this time of year is it's got a lot going on. There's always Disney on Ice the first week in November. Nate Bargatze was here for a full week right before Thanksgiving. I
took my wife to the show. It was great.
You had fun.
And he had 5 I don't know if it was 4 or 5 sold out shows at the Delta Center.
I think 5, yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So, there's building availability and we've got an NBA team that we're roommates with too. So, but yeah, it all evens out at the end, and you go through stuff during the season, as Bill said, and you get out and hope you're in a better spot to take advantage of it once we come back home on Friday and then get back from that East Coast trip that starts the new year.
Do the Mammoth have a backup goalie problem? Vanacek has not been in goal for a win since October. And look, I know it's not quite so simple. You shouldn't point. It's very much a team game, etc. But are they exploring different possibilities there? Does he need to, like you said, if you need to step up, it's too late probably. But is there some relief on the horizon when it comes to that?
To be honest with you, after that San Jose loss a couple weeks ago, right? It was 6-3, and Vejmelka exited, and Vanacek came in late in the first period. To me, that was my biggest concern about the game. Is Vejmelka lets in a couple, maybe that he usually saves. You make the change, and your backup goaltender comes in and takes a little bit to settle in. Ultimately, finished out the game making 9 straight saves, but he allowed 3 goals in the first 9 shots. And when he's been in on his 9 starts this year, the Mammoth have scored 18 goals, and they're averaging over 3 a game. So that's one thing, right? If I don't know, but I can't say for sure that they got to be totally confident when he's going in there, right? Just based on the games. And he's been in on a lot of tough back-to-backs. He's pretty much played the second half of every back-to-back, and he's allowed 3 goals or less in 6 of his 10 starts, right? So he's had his nights where he allows 4, not good enough, but he hasn't gotten a lot of offensive support. But you wonder, does the team have, eyes in the back of their head when he's between the pipes, because they're worried that he's not going to make a save if they go for something offensively that ends up coming back the other way. You worry about that. But I mean, yeah, OC, it's probably my biggest concern on the roster right now, and it has been for the last couple weeks, because it just keeps happening. You need him to go in and steal you a game every now and then.
Because you referenced a game against the Sharks, Macklin Celebrini has 51 points before Christmas. This kid is 19 years old. There's a reason, obviously. He was the number 1 overall pick last year. But are we watching the beginnings of a potentially, Hall of Fame NHL career?
I like the kid. I think so. Team Canada was at the game last night. Taking a look at him, you got to figure he's going to be on the Olympic team. 51 points in 34 games. Last year he had some injury problems at the beginning of the year. Still had 63 points in 70 games. I just like that kid a lot. It's not just the scoring, but for instance, Will Smith, their other teenager who's on fire right now, took a hit in Pittsburgh on Saturday and left the game. It was a 5-2 game at that point in favor of Pittsburgh, and Macklin Celebrini just took the game over. It was the day before Utah went into Pittsburgh and erased a 3-goal deficit. San Jose ultimately erased a 4-goal deficit and won 6-5 in overtime. But Macklin Celebrini was ticked off that his buddy had a hit laid down against him and had to leave the game, and just kind of took the game over, right? Like he does stuff that helps
at
you
19
win. Yeah, he goes out, he'll lay down a hit in the corner, right? He's not afraid. He's not your typical, teenager. For me, Connor Bedard, great offensive numbers, but he's your typical teenager.
Sure.
Right? He's I don't want to say he's playing junior hockey in the NHL, because he's not. He's in the top 5 in scoring. But when I watch Macklin Celebrini, I'm just so much more impressed with all the stuff he does. Laying down hits, going into dirty areas, getting ticked off that his buddy just got laid down with a hit, and he's going to race a 5-2 lead in the third all by himself.
Oh, it's one of those things that when you look at top picks, and we see this in the NBA, we're seeing it now with him in the NHL. When you have, they're not even great prospects are not all built the same. And Macklin Celebrini is someone 71 in Sharks teal. If you have an opportunity to watch, pay attention. Before we let you go, what should we expect from this Mammoth team against a good Detroit Red Wings squad?
I think they're going to respond, and I think they're going to have a really nice game. I believe that they're upset about last night. Last night they were fine. They played a good first period. They dominated, and Andre Cherney told us, yeah, we dominated the first period. We knew that the second-place team in the Atlantic Division was going to give us some kind of pushback, and we talked about it, and then we just let them take it to us. And hearing from Barrett Hayton after the game, I think there was something that bugged him. And they've responded well this year after their worst losses. The Vegas loss 5-1 on November 20th. They came back. They beat the Rangers 3-2 the next game. That Sharks loss on December 1st that they lost 6-3. They came back and beat the Ducks 7-0. So they've been a good team responding. Have they been perfect every night from night to night on exactly what you want them to look like? No, but they've been able to regroup here. And if you win tonight, it's 2 out of 3 on the trip coming home, and you finally have light at the end of the tunnel with some home games piling up. So I think they're in good shape. Detroit's a team that allows a lot of goals. Their goaltending has been substandard, though John Gibson had a good game last night. Expect to see Cam Talbot tonight, who's 15-9. So I think if Utah continues the mentality they had the first period in Boston last night and in Pittsburgh of just shooting the puck, they're going to see some good stuff happen. 78 shot attempts in Pittsburgh on Sunday. They had 24 in the first period yesterday, and then things just kind of stopped. So fire the puck, keep going, dig deep, and I think this group can emerge with a result tonight.
That is our Utah Mammoth insider, Adrian Denny. Between the Pipes, brought to you by our friends over at Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer, and Valley Plumbing and HVAC. Look for the truck with the duck. Andy Larson joins us next from the Salt Lake Tribune, Jazz Insider. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Winding closer to the end of the show, we're going to have topical trivia to close things out. We'll give away a Big Willie's gift card. They sponsored the show every day. They sponsored the hot lunch today. Check them out at 1717 South Main. Andy Larson set to join us here. His work for the Salt Lake Tribune on the Jazz front, on the basketball front, has been incredible. I've actually really loved his dual purpose, his turn as a kind of a statistical writer as well, going all the way back to the whole COVID mess. I thought that it really showed his level of intelligence, that they offered him an expanded role, and he just killed it. But his best work, in my opinion, is done with the triple team for the Salt Lake Tribune. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you do to the Salt Lake Tribune. Support our local writers. Support good journalism being done. Andy Larson joins us now, and we're just going to riff off this triple team. Andy, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Always appreciate you coming on the show. And your most recent triple team is kind of what I wanted to talk to you about anyway, so I hope you won't get overly bored talking about things you've already written about. But the question number one is there going to be a shift in the answer, the mentality around tanking for the Utah Jazz? Famously, Austin Ainge said, nope, you will not see that this year. But are we starting to see it?
So I think to some degree, I think, there has been a recognition that 9-15, or now they're 10-15, and being the 10th, getting kind of the 10th lottery odds, so that you are most likely going to give up your top 8 protected pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder this year, would be really pretty bad. And I think that is one of the reasons why we saw the lineups that we saw on Monday night, which is that they just rested Yusuf Nurkic, Svi Mikhailiuk, and Kevin Love. Despite they had 2 games off before, they had 2 days off before, 2 days off after. This is not a situation in which these players needed rest. This was a chance to play the young guys. Now, the young guys won anyway, in part because Anthony Davis is out with a sore Achilles. But it's so, the question is, and I think it is still a little bit up in the air, and Will Hardy was not willing to kind of commit one way or the other, is, are they going to actually play the young guys more the rest of the year? And, to what extent does that happen? So, resting Nurkic is one thing. Do you start resting Lauri Markkanen? Do you start, Keontae George is 22, but also apparently helps you win now. Does that, do you start resting him? I mean, we don't really know. I know you asked Austin Ainge about this at his opening press conference. Hey, there will be no more of what happened last year, but I think there's some leeway for them to play with rotations to still get some more losses. That being said, now the young players are better, and so it's harder to just go 2-27 like you could last year.
How big of a surprise is Keontae George to people in the organization? I mean, he's been a revelation, I think, for a lot of the fans, and a pleasant surprise in that, hey, maybe this is one of those guys who can be part of a core that you start to build around. Those comments are not always accepted. We'll get to that here in just a second. But how, for the internal talent evaluators, the basketball minds and experts, did they ever expect this from Keontae George?
I think maybe when he was first playing so well in his rookie year, the first couple of months, now, at the end of last year, I would say there was very little hope. And I think that was one of the things that was communicated to him and got through to him, was like, hey, you are on the edge of losing your NBA career, or, you are going to, you look at around the league what teams think of scoring guards who don't defend, don't make efficient choices with the ball, and those guys are falling out of the league and are not getting signed to contracts and so on and so forth. So, it is as remarkable of a turnaround of any player I've covered in, my 12, 13 years of doing this. because, like I think there was some idea that the talent was there, but, usually those guys just kind of keep doing what they're doing. I mean, there were so many overlaps and kind of similarities with like Trey Burke, for example, who was, an efficient college point guard, but never figured out how to do it in the NBA and always kind of wanted to do it his way. Keontae was stubborn last year and didn't want to kind of play the way Will wanted him to. And I give him a ton of credit for turning that around. So, in the triple team, I wrote about kind of like where he ranks now. And I don't think like he projects as a future all-star, but is right now kind of in that good starter level, which is really, really impressive. And then, he is 22 and there is some more upside still to show. So, extremely impressed with Keontae. I think he's attacked this year as well as anyone could possibly hope for. And it's probably the most encouraging story with the Jazz right now.
Andy Larson's our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 792 on FM. If you're the owner of an NBA franchise, the GM of an NBA franchise, and you win the NBA Cup, are you hanging a banner? How much are you celebrating this thing?
If I'm the Knicks, I'm hanging a banner due to the lack of very many Knicks banners. I think if I'm the Jazz, I'm hanging the banner due to the lack of any Jazz banners. Look, it's obviously like a goofy tournament, but we also have banners. There's a banner in Madison Square Garden for Billy Joel making 80 appearances there. There's a banner in the Delta Center for Garth Brooks, having some sellouts.
They took it down.
Like,
they took it down.
Thank goodness. But we can hang banners for stuff. And then, look, if we decide that the NBA Cup doesn't matter in 10 years, we can take it down. But, do a fun thing. Just be happy with some level of success. I do think, look, the group stage of the NBA Cup doesn't matter, but I think it has been fun. The knockout stage games were really, really high quality, right? Like that Spurs Thunder game was awesome. And the Suns Lakers game, got Dylan Brooks kicked out and LeBron almost kicked out. And there was some real passion there in NBA games in December. So I think overall is a good thing. And I think it's probably better for everybody involved to pretend that it matters to start. And then, maybe one day we do get some rivalries, or maybe they change the format or whatever it is. And we see kind of it becoming what the NBA envisions it becoming. But, I honestly, let's pretend that the thing is fun for right now because, what else are we doing? What else are you putting in the Madison Square Garden rafters that matters more than this?
Does the Knicks winning it change how you view the East or inform how you view the contenders in the East?
Not really, just because of how it happened, right? If they had beaten the Thunder, then I think it would have been another story. But the Spurs kind of upsetting the Thunder in the I guess the semifinals, was such a cool. It was a very good game, and Wembanyama just kind of took over with an incredible plus minus. I think the Knicks are a good team. I think the Knicks are one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, maybe the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think you could reasonably make that argument. But I do think, the West has, in my brain, at least two teams that are stronger in terms of the Thunder, and then the Denver Nuggets are I think, clearly shown they're a step above.
All right. Interesting social media happenstance. I guess it was last week now, where Yusuf Nurkic, there was some disagreement when comments were made about building around Keontae George. And one fan said, no, you don't do that. Someone who, pays attention to the team, covers the team. No, you shouldn't do that. And Yusuf Nurkic took exception, I guess said we should build around you, and just screenshotted this person, and I think it was an attempt to mock an appearance or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to imply intent that I wasn't sure was there. But in any case, it became a lot more of a touch point for fan Twitter than I thought it ever would. How how should we be processing an interaction like this between an NBA player, but one from Bosnia? I think that's important here, rather than someone who maybe is as sensitive to the current, I guess, cultural norms when it comes to online interactions. How did you process it?
Like Nurk is pretty online. Like he's a pretty online guy. He knows what's going on. Like, okay, so a few thoughts here. One, yes, it became big because, frankly, what else do Jazz fans have to talk about? Like,
fair, yes.
This is a long rebuild that there's some good stuff going on with the team, but when players interact with Jazz Twitter, I think Jazz Twitter is going to talk about it. Look, I thought what the fan, his name is Zach Podmore, and he's done actually he's on like some draft podcasts, and I think he does good work. I think he's kind of a thoughtful basketball watcher, if you will. I definitely disagree with many of his takes, but this one, I see where he's coming from. And he says, look, Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George and Ace Bailey, those aren't necessarily players you build around, in the Giannis sense and in the, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sense, where you're kind of looking for players that maximize their strengths and weaknesses. They are pieces to the puzzle, and the Jazz are still looking for that number one guy that they can build around. And Nurk took exception to that and said, look, we should build around you, right? And found this very old picture of this fan and posted it. And yes, he looks a little bit goofy. He also, frankly, looks a little bit like Yusuf Nurkic, who also looks goofy.
which is kind of where I'm like, look, I mean, Nurkic is not the type of guy that if he were Cristiano Ronaldo trying to mock somebody, you'd just be like, oh, come on, pal. But it's this 6'11" goofball mocking another goofball. I don't know. Continue your thought.
A shorter goofball.
Yeah.
So look, I don't think that's especially cool to like go through someone's photos, post the weirdest looking one of them, and make fun of. And I guess Nurk didn't make fun of his appearance. He just said, "Let's build around you." But like, I don't know, especially for a guy. I think. If the player had been either kind of attacked personally, or if that tweet had been more disrespectful, or frankly, if Nurk is more than like a short-term rental for the Jazz, if he were a guy who had been with the team for 5 years and is going to be with the team for 5 more and has kind of earned the standing to do that. But to me, Nurk, you just got dumped for a first-round pick by the Phoenix Suns last year,
well,
right? Like,
isn't it worse though if he's better? Isn't it worse for him to interact
maybe.
at all and to punch down if he's punching way down? Like the fact that he is what he is makes it not a fair interaction, if that's the right terminology, but a lot more on the level.
Okay, yeah, I can see where that's coming from. Yeah. Regardless, my personal take on this, and it is admittedly a controversial one, is that like, bruh, just maybe don't attack the fans that are supporting you through this 5-year rebuild process, and the showing up the games and whatnot, because Jazz fans are terrific, right? Like I go to all these different other NBA arenas, and there are a lot of teams right now who are in the bottom 10 of the NBA. And these arenas are empty, and truly no one cares. And it's sad. And we're lucky in Utah to have Jazz fans who care as much as they do. And I think kind of the recognition of kind of what the fans bring to this, which is frankly everything, is warranted.
I think that's fair. I also, I mean, I don't know this fan. I don't know Nurk. So one of the issues with social media is there's no sarcasm font. There's no like you can say something and people are like, oh, that's malicious. Why is he and maybe he's just like thinking it's funny and being kind of a high school bully, a little bit of a goof, which is maybe not ideal, but also it's not something that we need to cry over. So I don't know. And if anything, it just highlighted the lack of nuance in social media interactions where I could see if you're a player and someone's saying like, actually, this team doesn't have anyone good. You'd be like, what the hell? Yeah, we do. And then if you're the fan, you're going, why is this NBA player trying to mock what I look like? That's messed up. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Social media
Yeah,
is a
you're right.
nightmare sometimes.
Yeah, there's no nuance, and God knows we've both been kind of on the bad side of that, where people take our tweets and think the worst of us. And probably me more than you, to be honest. I feel like you're pretty.
Honestly,
you're pretty easygoing, but
if people think that I mean it the worst way, you're right. Okay, I'm always malicious on Twitter. I'm doing it to hurt your feelings. If you're offended, I'm trying to offend you. No, I don't know. I mean, there's no way to really win in these scenarios for either party because you look too sensitive or you look like you're meaner than you actually are. So I don't know. I would like to see, maybe you and the Trib can do this. Let's put a camera on the two of them interacting with one another and see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could probably make that happen.
Yeah. That'd be fun content. I hope it would be fun content. I think it would be fun content.
If it's bad content, then we're in some trouble, though.
If it ends up being bad, it wasn't my idea. All right?
Sounds good.
Andy, I always appreciate your time and your insight. Keep writing great stuff, and we'll see you around soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.
That's Andy Larson, or as I affectionately refer to him, Andy Blarson, Andy B. Larson on Twitter. So Andy Blarson. You know what I mean? I love it. All right, we'll give away some. Why do I keep saying some? It's because we usually give away some tickets. We're giving away a gift card to Big Willie's, so you can go have your own hot lunch. Next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right, closing things out on the Sean O'Connell Show. The Drive with Spence Checketts is next. Where's Spence today, James? Is he on remote somewhere? Is he on the road? We're all on the road.
He is.
Okay.
He is out and about today. It is. I
just put James on the spot.
I gotta pull it up. He is out and about today, so he will not be joining us for Crosstalk. I will have that info in just a second.
We're all on the road tomorrow. We're at the Road Home down in Midvale at the new Road Home Crosby Family Center headquarters, and your donations will be welcome there all day long. Every Broadway media station's going to be down there. Even the competition's going to be down there. We're going to have a lot of fun trying to raise some money for the Road Home. They do incredible work for the community, for needy families in particular, and it's a charity. It's a cause you can really feel good about donating to because they try to get people back on their feet, and they operate as a transitional space for people who've fallen on hard times to get back into the workforce, back into permanent housing, and that's obviously the goal. So the Road Home has a long-standing history in our community, and we're happy to help that. We'll be there tomorrow and Friday on location.
It's Spence is at Tim Dolly Infinity, about 4600 South State Street in Murray. So
nice.
So go check them out. I'm sure they got tons of last-minute holiday deals on Infinity vehicles and whatnot there at Tim Dolly Infinity. So check them out because, as evidenced by your poll, lots of people are not finished Christmas shopping. We're a week away.
We didn't even get to this today. What a terrible job by me. Well, we'll touch on it tomorrow because there's 21 hours left in the poll, but we're a week out from Christmas, and so how much of your Christmas shopping is done already? 28% of you are saying 100% is done.
Good for you guys, by the way.
75+% of your Christmas shopping done. Almost 40% of people say yes. 50 to 75% done. That's 17% of people.
That was my vote.
The uh-oh category, which means you haven't done anything. That's only 15% of people.
Okay, so 85% has done about half or more of their Christmas shopping. Good job, guys. Good job. Now, hurry up and finish. Those that are including myself, they're between the 50% and 100%.
All right. Big Willie's gift card, if you could answer a trivia question, 877-353-0700. We were talking about the NBA Cup and talking about whether or not New York should hang a banner for the NBA Cup championship. And the question, most people were just like, probably not. In fact, the poll question, 87% of people say, no, you don't hang a banner for the NBA Cup. Andy Larson, who just joined us, says, well, yeah, if you're the Knicks, you do because you haven't had a lot of championship history. So that sparks this. Madison Square Garden plays host to several different major sporting teams, major sporting events, but it's the home of the Knicks. It's the home of the Rangers, right? The last real championship, world championship, top of your league banner to be won and hung at Madison Square Garden belongs to who? 877-353-0700. If you know the answer to that question, we'll give you Big Willie's gift card.
Very good question, OC. I got a feeling that Spence Checketts might know the answer very intimately.
Yeah, Spence would know that.
There's a hint for you.
877-353-0700 to answer. Come see us at the Road Home tomorrow and or on Friday. Big thanks to everyone who joined us on the show today. It's always fun. Maurice Jones-Drew, that was awesome. Trevor Riley's great to catch up with. Adrian Denny's great to catch up with. Andy Larson, go read his triple team at Salt Lake Tribune. Everything going well in the sports world right now, and we're excited about it.
I do, you bring up Andy again, I do appreciate his just like, yeah, it's a fun thing you did. Why not honor it when we talk about put a banner up for the NBA Cup, even though I spent the whole first segment poo-pooing the idea. I do appreciate this perspective of like, why take it so serious? Well, it's a fun thing.
It is. If you're going to lean into it, you might as well lean into it, I guess, but we'll let them decide. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll do it again tomorrow. Stay tuned for The Drive with Spence Checketts on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.